Resident Evil. Hey, Wolfpack, we're back with another surprise tier list, and this time we're talking about Resident Evil. The movies and shows, not the video games. Yeah, I know, some people will be upset we didn't do the games, but what the heck, I watched all the movies and shows just to do this tier list, so we're gonna finally do it. Making sure everything's working. Yeah, looks like my mic is functional. Yep, we're gonna be talking about Resident Evil's movies and shows and portrayals in media. Sorry, not doing a video game tier list because I and Wolf have not played all the video games. I'll be honest, never got into the series, so I may not participate. Okay, Anime Night. Takes off glasses. You should have brought more. Yeah, classic Wesker, the only good line in Afterlife. Alright, hey Wolfpack, Catastrophe here, and we're bringing you another surprise tier list. This time we're ranking all the Resident Alice movies, and yes, even the animated and Netflix stuff is also on here. Gonna be ranking Resident Evil's portrayal in the mainstream media, ranking them from top best to bottom worst. Yep, I finally got to this tier list. We're finally talking about a classic horror franchise. Tragically not the video games because I've not played every video game. Sorry, the original classic RE games were before my time. I was aware of this saga. I got into it when Resident Evil 5 and 6 were huge back in the day. Did play the remakes. I have not beaten Resident Evil 2. In the middle of the Nemesis remake right now, and I do like RE4. That one was great. I played the original on the GameCube, but don't have it anymore. Hi, Cat. Resident Evil. Glad to see the CGI films to have some positives because, well, the Alice movies are, gonna have some positive to talk about on this tier list. Got all the Resident Evil movies, the Alice Saga, aka the Resident Alice Saga, as I like to call it. And we do have the CGI movies, 2 of the TV shows, and the recent Death Island. Death Island is the most recent one, so basically, we have all the movies and shows that exist at this point in time. I'm certain there will be more in the future, but we have a lot to work with right now. And yes, I did unfortunately see all of these, so I do have enough to talk about. So if you don't know how a tier list works, I'll go over it if this is your first tier list ever. I'll be ranking all the movies and 2 shows up here from top best to bottom worst. And because I love Resident Evil, I gave them their own slots. Up top we have Titan Tyrant. These ones are the perfect ones, 10 out of 10s, the best of the best, the all-stars. Yeah, my RE fans will definitely laugh at that. So, probably not going to be seeing a lot up here, but basically they're the best Resident Evil titles that we ever seen. And yeah, we're going to see a lot more bad ones. Underneath that, we have Jill Sandwich. Basically the A tier. These ones, good, not great. Have a lot of golden stuff in them. Some high points. They're definitely decent watches. They're fun. They're enjoyable. I might have a nitpick or 2 or criticism here and there, but overall, I would say they're fun. Basically 8 or 9s out of 10s. Jill Sandwich is definitely a tasty snack. Then underneath that, we have Rookie. These ones, okay, not too bad, not too shabby. They're the silver skulls, the silver medals. They were definitely decent. A lot more issues, and I might have some huge criticisms for them. But overall, definitely a fun time, a standard watch. Nothing that'll blow you away, but they did a good job as a Resident Evil movie. Though there will be a lot to discuss, both good and bad in them. Underneath that, we have Nemesis Miss. Basically, a huge miss. It took its shot. It didn't hit. I don't care for this movie. It's more so forgettable, weak, subpar entertainment. It missed like the Nemesis Miss Jill. Then underneath that we have What? What is this? Basically a big WTF movie, a lackluster production, one that is plain bad. It didn't do all that great a job, it wasn't decent, it wasn't a good Resident Evil representation. And underneath that, in last place, we have You're Pitiful. If you don't know what that means, it's an F, it sucks, it's bad, it's the worst Resident Evil anything of all time, and I think you will see a lot down here. Oh god, I see the Netflix series here too. That's also, got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. I simp for Jill and Lady D. Jill Valentine is awesome. But again, I also think Ada Wong is also sexy. Are you going to do a tier list for the games? I did mention earlier, I have not played all the games. I recently got Code Veronica on the Game Pass and gonna check that out to see how fun it is. I actually did like the story watching it online. I'm going to experience that game for the first time. I might not do a tier list on the games because I have not played them all. Sorry, I have not played the old-ass RE1, RE2, RE3, and I did play the RE4 on the GameCube, but that was like long ago. RE5 and 6 are where I started the series, and I kind of followed the story like online on YouTube, or played the more recent titles. I do have the RE3 remake, yeah, the infamous one. I tried getting into the RE1 remake, but I was having trouble adjusting to those old tank controls. I remember Leon Kennedy versus Frank West. Yeah, Marvel versus Capcom. Ha ha ha. Like, people have Wesker versus Kazuma and Nemesis versus the Magician, House of the Dead for Death Battle. Well, those are pretty cool lineups. You know, a real... delete their comment. Like, even Dead Meat did the Resident Evil kill count. Yeah, did they? I remember they did all the Resident Alice movies. I'm not sure if they got Welcome to Raccoon City. Okay, so I'll explain this if you've never seen Resident Evil at all. It's basically zombies meets the Matrix. A lot of cool action, a lot of spy thrillers. Basically, there's an evil conspiracy that involves causing the zombie apocalypse. Usually some evil corporation, corrupt politician, or even an evil cult are creating a zombie army. And we meet a vast assortment of colorful heroes and anti-heroes who try to save the day. There's a lot of big names in Resident Evil. Albert Wesker, one of the greatest Capcom villains of all time. Ada Wong, basically Resident Evil Catwoman. She's a spy who likes to play both sides. William Birkin, one of the few villains turned tragic villain who really worked, and a lot of big named heroes and video game icons. Everyone knows and loves Leon Kennedy, Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Rebecca Chambers, maybe Ethan Winters, and Barry Burton. Yeah, I know, Phalis did a lot of great reviews on these movies and shows, and honestly I recommend checking him out. Phalis did a wonderful job criticizing the Resident Evil media, and why a lot of it failed. He also does some of the video games, but none of the old ones. You're not a real fan unless you played the Nokia games from the 2000s. The first movie happens on the year of my birthday. Okay, good for you, Akira. Alright, so basically a lot of zombie apocalypse stuff, a lot of really cool kick-ass action, and as we all know, Paul W.S. Anderson inserted a lot of Michael Bay-esque action scenes and slow-mo into this franchise, which did lead over to the video games. Unfortunately, Resident Evil has not been quite fully captured on film or shows. They usually have a story taking place in the Resident Evil games timeline. Like, they're too afraid that they're gonna overwhelm audiences with the lore and mythos, so they have, like, original characters and a slow build-up into the RE lore and universe, and there have not been a lot of good movies portraying Resident Evil for the mainstream. Basically, we had a saga that starred Mila Jovovich as Paul W.S. Anderson's Mary Sue O.C. Alice, and she was supposed to be an original character fighting in the game world. Like, the games are happening at the same time as these movies are taking place, and anyone who's watched these can tell Paul W.S. Anderson was god-awful at continuity, and they got worse as they went on. Resident Evil used to make another one of these films. They were like, these are like the Michael Bay's Transformers for horror fans. They kept popping up every year. They were always stupid action fluff, no plot, no good characters, a lot of focus on the hot chicks and zombie action, and basically nothing of rewatch value, nothing of substance, nothing really good that said, this was a great Resident Evil story. We've had 6 Alice movies, yes 6, and we had several animated ones. The animated ones are way superior, where basically we follow what the Resident Evil characters were doing in between the video games. There's officially 9 Resident Evil games in the current gameplay timeline. We're getting RE9 Requiem coming soon, but yeah, there's also a bunch of spin-off games like Code Veronica, Umbrella Chronicles, and Revelations, yeah, that 2-parter game. Alright, so they did try to convert Resident Evil into a movie saga, and unfortunately, we have some hits, but also many, many misses, and we're gonna be ranking them all right now. So, let's finally start this saga with an Alice sandwich. Yeah, let's do it. Let's get Mia Jovovich's saga out of the way with the first ever live action Resident Evil movie, Resident Evil 1, which is going on to Rookie. Okay, so if you ask anyone, they will say the first one was the most decent of the Alice saga. I kind of disagree on that because they did not do a good job introducing naive newcomers like me to the great world of Resident Evil. Hi everyone, AV Scorpio. How's everyone doing today? Staying cool. It's pretty hot in my area. Talking about Resident Evil for the spooky season. Okay, so RE1 does not follow anything about the games, but it includes stuff you see from the games. Umbrella Corps is here, and basically, Umbrella Corps causes a zombie outbreak. We follow like this great big business company, and something goes wrong, there's a contamination, and the computer AI, known as the Red Queen, kills everyone and seals everyone not infected inside the building, fearing that the infection might spread. And it basically becomes a survival horror story of Alice and her merry band of cannon fodder trying to escape. We're led to believe the Red Queen is the main villain, and this is a character who will get very, very confusing with each passing film. Alice has a ton of Alice in Wonderland themes and parallels to the C.S. Lewis book. Like, the main character's name is Alice. She's lost in this mysterious land. She fights the Red Queen. She sees the test subjects are the White Rabbits, and they live underneath a hive, which is a ton of hallways and a lot of playing card parallels. Don't ask me why there's so many Alice in Wonderland themes in this movie, because there was originally a first script where all of this was going to make sense and come together, but then the studio got cold feet and changed it at the last second. Okay, so Mia Jovovich's Alice would become an okay character to one of the most hated of all time. Before there was Rey Skywalker, or Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, or Avatar Korra, we had Alice. Alice is a Mary Sue. Not in this movie, but in movie 2 onward, she will become one of the most irritating protagonists of all time. She has a lot of plot armor, has BS powers and abilities that come out of nowhere, has a severe lack of character, and everyone thinks Alice is the bestest ever. She does everything in these movies to the point where she would overshadow actual Resident Evil heroes. Mia Jovovich as Alice. Yeah, everyone loves Alice. Yeah, I know Mia Jovovich is hot. She's cool, she's kick-ass, but unfortunately Alice does not have much character in this. It's a survival horror story. They're locked inside this high-tech building. The Red Queen is killing them all. Most of the characters die from a laser grid, and we never see zombies until halfway through. She played Nanny McPhee, Megan Hipwell, and Minty and Robot Chicken. Okay, good for her. Yeah, Mia Jovovich is a good actress, but these films will not demonstrate that. I know Mia Jovovich is hot and she plays badasses all the time. This series kind of became infamous for her because she became kind of like box office poison the more these sequels crapped out. In the first movie, Alice is okay. Alice does not have any memory of who she is, and basically in a similar vein to Wolverine from the Fox X-Men saga, she's trying to find out who she is, what's her story, why is this happening. Alice has amnesia for almost most of the movie. She's uncovering like pieces of her past. We find out Alice was a corporate saboteur who was trying to expose Umbrella Corps as an evil business. However, she lost her memories and was knocked out and put into a weird mansion scenario. I guess she was like being used for a test. She and her fake husband were trapped here. Then we find out she was actually the inside contact for this resistance group, trying to expose Umbrella for creating the T-virus or something. Zombies break out, go on the loose. They fight a bunch of survivors. We meet a bunch of expendable soldiers, including Michelle Rodriguez in one of her early film roles. Michelle Rodriguez is basically the bitch. She's like the bitch in everything she's ever acted in. Yeah, she's kind of a frenemy towards Alice. They find out more, and in a twist, it turns out Alice's fake husband from the fake mansion is the twist villain. He was trying to steal from Umbrella Corps and tried to kill everyone, purposely spreading the infection, only to lose his memories and get swept up in this whole mess. Have you seen VHS 2025? No, I have not. She could have played Jill and it would have been fine. Yeah, absolutely. Mia Jovovich probably should have been Jill Valentine, given how much focus is on her and how much her story kind of parallels Valentine's. Okay, Eric Mabius as Matthew Matt Addison. Yeah, she saves her friend. She chooses her friends rather than her fake husband. I don't know why. This will get more confusing by the final chapter, but yeah. Basically, they team up with the Red Queen, and after almost 80 minutes of film, we finally see an iconic Resident Evil monster that isn't a generic zombie. The Lickers. Yeah, the Red Queen, for really no reason at all, teams up with the heroes to thwart the evil fake husband guy who's trying to steal the T-virus to sell on the black market. And we see the Lickers, and there is a lot of cringe humor. I can't believe that SOB is gonna get away with this. And the Red Queen comes in and says, I don't think so. I've been a bad girl. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Red Queen. They try so hard to make her like this dark comedy villain. It does not work, and she gets much worse in the sequels. Yeah, they release the Lickers, and the Lickers kill evil fake husband. Alice and Matt work together. They put aside their differences, become friends. Alice somehow unlocks her secret martial arts skills and defeats the Licker, but Matt gets like infected by the Licker, and he'll turn into the Nemesis next movie. No, really, that actually happens. And basically there's kind of no ending to this film. It ends very abruptly. Alice and Matt make it out of Umbrella's building alive, but then they get detained by these environmental suit guys. They take them away. Alice wakes up in some hospital and wanders across an abandoned Raccoon City, finding out that Resident Evil 2 and 3 are happening during this time. Alice walks out. Matt is taken away even though he's infected. A Licker slashed his shoulder or something, and this will lead to him being rebuilt into the Nemesis somehow. Yeah, these movies get much stupider. Again, they're kind of like Michael Bay's Transformers for horror fans. Alice kind of ends the movie not finding out who she is and wandering the ruins of Raccoon City, hinting that the next movie will actually feature the game plots. Have you read any of the Resident Evil books, live action, for the games? Oh, and for the games. No, I have not read any of the books. Honestly, I don't have the time to. Okay, so Resident Evil 1, it's watchable, but that's about it. This is not the worst of these Resident Alice movies. It starts out very promising, but kind of ended up becoming the Force Awakens of these movies. It had a promising start and several hints to a grander story, but it got worse and worse with each passing sequel. Alice is not annoying in this one yet. The Red Queen is kind of a disappointing villain. They really should have had Albert Wesker or William Birkin or, character who's actually in the video games, and you really do not care for any of the side characters. They're all expendable idiots, and everybody but Alice dies, basically. And that will become a repetitive thing all throughout this saga. Alice will live and all her cannon fodder friends die. But yeah, Resident Evil 1, I'll put it on Rookie. This one is the most watchable of them all. I do prefer another one of these sequels over this one, but yeah, it's very basic. Basic intro, basic horror, honestly a really basic story, and unfortunately it is held back by a few problems. The CGI has aged in a lot of places. The Lickers do not look good anymore, and the Red Queen especially looks faker in this movie compared to future sequels. Milla Jovovich, I like her as an actress, but as her character Alice, this is easily one of her worst characters, but she'll get much more irritating as we go on. But for the first chapter, it'll be on Rookie. The Nemesis origins was a lot better in the movie. In the comics, it was some college kid. Greetings. Hey, Blaze Hopper. Alright, we move on to Chapter 2, Resident Evil Apocalypse. And believe it or not, I actually thought this one was decent. Apocalypse we're going to put onto Jewel Sandwich. I know. How could I like this one? This is where the movies started their downward spiral. I will agree with you on that, but it has one big thing I love. Jill Valentine. Yeah, Sienna Guillory's Jill Valentine is awesome. She absolutely nails the performance. Selena, whatever her name is, Guillory, she looks exactly like Jill Valentine. She got the look right, she has the outfit right. Jill is hot, kick-ass, awesome, has a lot more profound character than Alice does. Jill Valentine, easily the highlight of this movie, and the only reason why it's on Jill's sandwich. Just got here, and oh no, you're talking about the Alice and Zombieland Evil movies. It makes the sequel trilogy look like a masterpiece in comparison. It gets worse, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't worry, we're on the second one, and I actually think this one easily the best of the Alice saga. It's not only watchable, but it actually tries to capture the video games. So, not quite being Resident Evil 2, it takes a lot from Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. We're in Raccoon City, we meet Jill Valentine, we meet Carlos, Nikolai shows up to basically die, and Alice is now wandering Raccoon City in this one, and we finally get introduced to the Nemesis. Yeah, movie 2 is skipping ahead and bringing in Nemesis, one of the awesomest, scariest, creepy horror video game icons of all time, and to Anderson's credit, they capture the look of Nemesis really well. He looks like the character, acts like the character, has his big bazooka and machine gun, and is treated as a dead serious threat. For those of you who don't know, this is RE3. Nemesis is released to assassinate all the STARS team members. STARS are Special Tasks and Rescue Squad. Jill Valentine is a member of STARS, and Nemesis is basically stalking her all throughout the movie. I like that Jill and Alice have kind of this frenemy banter. They're both like the ace badasses, and they're trying to basically outclass the other. Jill acts cooler than Alice acts cooler than Jill. They have kind of a friendly rivalry going on over who's the baddest bitch, and I do love Sienna Guillory's performance as Jill Valentine. She absolutely made this movie that great. She looks like Jill, acts like Jill, and does get a few moments to be badass before Alice shows up. Nemesis suit looks amazing. Fully agree, that is also a highlight of this film. And yeah, this is the twist. Nemesis is Matt from movie 1. Matt was the only other survivor alongside Alice. After he was licked by a licker, the T-virus was spreading to his body, but Umbrella got a hold of him and converted him into a Titan super soldier, the Nemesis. And Nemesis actually does look cool in this, is cool, and yes, he even says, "Stars." That's like his only catchphrase. He's going after them. Unfortunately, we don't get Jill's greatest line. "You want stars? I'll give you stars." No, tragically, Alice does show up, and yeah, the reason why this isn't an S tier is because of Alice's side of the story, and LJ. Yeah, remember LJ, the weird ghetto Grand Theft Auto reject? Yeah, LJ shows up, he's like this token black guy stereotype, he's running over zombies, he's the comic relief survivor in a game series that should never have them. Yeah, Sienna Guillory is Jill Valentine, she's the best in this. Dang, it gets worse and worse. Yep, it does. Yeah, it's about to get worse after this movie. So lose an Amity Blight rival but friends. Yeah, kind of. I do like Jill and Alice trying to one-up each other, prove who's better. Unfortunately, this would start with Alice becoming a lot better than the actual RE heroes we know and love. And yeah, to say it got worse with each passing film is a massive understatement. Also, she played Maggie Howard in Clifford the Big Red Dog movie. Oh, she did. What was the point of the news reporter woman? That's right, there's like this amateur journalist woman. She's trying to win her Emmy and filming alongside Jill and one of her friends, and basically she's cannon fodder. One of the dumbest moments in the movie. Jill is trying to search for a little girl. This is the actual conflict. We meet Ashford. Yeah, Ashford, as in the father of the Ashford twins. His little girl was separated from him while evacuating Raccoon City, and he hires Alice and Jill to find his little girl. In exchange, he'll give them safe transport out of Raccoon City so they're not killed. the citizens of Raccoon City are being sealed off by the government. We find out later it's Umbrella, because of course it is. They're sealing off Raccoon City and basically plan to nuke it off the face of the planet, killing all the zombies, monsters, and potential witnesses and infected. And Jill and Alice and friends are trying to escape Raccoon City. Mr. Ashford makes a deal with them. He'll help get them out if they save his little girl. And it's Angela Ashford, but honestly, these two are basically William Birkin and Sherry Birkin in all but name. Yeah, there's a lost little girl and Jill has to find her instead of Claire Redfield, and yeah, basically it's trying to rescue this little girl. The little girl happens to be immune to the T-virus, and that's the only reason why the city hasn't been nuked. Umbrella is trying to find this little girl because they need her blood, and this will make less sense with each passing film anyway, but yeah, they're trying to find the little girl, and for really no reason at all, Jill has two civilians help her search an entire school. They split up, gang, and go their separate ways, and yeah, the newswoman basically dies. She gets killed by a bunch of zombie school children. Yeah, there's a ton of stupid moments and really lazy jump scares. Again, they get worse somehow, but yeah. Like, why'd it called Raccoon City if they don't have any raccoon? I think the remakes kind of fix that. Also, could Grey DeLeo play Jill Valentine? Jill or Claire Redfield? Yeah, there's like this annoying newswoman. She's set up like she's gonna be a big character, then she just dies. Jill like has two civilians search the dark school alone, and big shock, one of them dies. LJ lives way too long in this saga, and he comes back in the third movie. Here, he's an annoying comic relief. Sometimes he's funny, but oftentimes he's annoying. Like when Nemesis shows up and kills all the stars at the precinct, and LJ's like, yeah, that's right, I'm too badass to kill. I was really hoping Nemesis would cap him. He tells a lot of dumb jokes. Fortunately, Jill does make this movie work. A lot of nudity, if you love that in the Resident Evil saga. Mila Jovovich gets naked multiple times in this film. There's zombie strippers, which I did find funny. Yeah, that was pretty entertaining. But Jill's also pretty sexy badass. They did my favorite girl justice, until a later sequel anyway. But yeah, I do like Sienna's portrayal of Jill. So ultimately, Nikolai is not the twist villain of this like he is in the game. Nikolai shows up and he's pretty much an in-name only character. Carlos and Nikolai are hired mercs clearing out the city, trying to help find the little girl. Nikolai gets punk killed, so we could have a twist villain. Who's the villain? Well, it's the security guy bodyguard to Mr. Ashford. Yeah, he shows up in like the beginning of this movie, acts like he cares about Mr. Ashford and wants to help him. No, it's the evil Umbrella merc. He's secretly in the pocket of Umbrella and trying to study Alice. He's trying to collect all these people who are super soldiers / immune to the T-virus. He has the Nemesis go in, exterminate the stars, and take Alice and the little girl Angela Ashford back with him to research. Matthew G. Taylor as Nemesis. Sienna Guillory's costume in the film was based right off of Jill Valentine's outfit from RE3 Nemesis. Yeah, that's exactly why it's so cool. RE Apocalypse won Best Sound Editing and the Golden Reel Award at the 25th Genie Award, and was nominated for Best Overall Sound. Yeah, the sounds are pretty cool. The soundtrack for Apocalypse was released and contained alternate metal songs, both featured in the film and inspired by it. Jared Harris as Dr. Charles Ashford. Yeah, so they might be tricking us into thinking Code Veronica was going to be made into a film. Never happens. They completely forget it and make Alice the central focus for this entire franchise. But one thing that did also make this film good is we do get to see the team fight Nemesis. Jill fights Nemesis and she loses, so Alice can step up as the main hero. Alice fights the Nemesis, and we find out it's Matt from the first movie converted into a super soldier. An evil Umbrella bodyguard guy wanted to take Alice under his wing to train her to be the ultimate super soldier, because Alice has the same powers Albert Wesker has from his virus injection. Yeah, Alice is the key to everything in these movies, and he wants to take Alice with him. Alice says, no, screw you. Nemesis turns against Umbrella Corps because of the power of love and destroys them. Evil Umbrella guy gets his comeuppance when zombie Ashford bites him, which would be a decent way to go out, but kind of comes out of nowhere because he was shot dead and betrayed. But yeah, evil guy dies, Mr. Ashford dies. The little girl, I guess, is adopted by Jill Valentine and will go to that same orphanage Sherry Birkin's at, I guess. But the heroes get away. Alice unfortunately crashes in like a helicopter. She's taken by Umbrella Corps only to escape, and yeah, we get the worst idea ever. Alice gets superpowers. Alice pretty much has the Force. She can move things with her mind, destroy technology in a blink, and actually turns people's own weapons against them with a mere thought. Yeah, Alice now becomes an overpowered Mary Sue god at the end of this movie, and unfortunately lasts all the way to the final chapter. So Alice breaks out, and Jill Valentine and LJ and Carlos help her escape, pretending that they're secret operatives, and they take Alice with them, where we get sequel bait. Umbrella now controls the world, and we set up Dr. Marcus as the next villain to disappoint us. Honestly, I think this movie is watchable. Jill Valentine is easily the best part. Nemesis holds up very well. A lot of the action does still look good in this film, and honestly does look like something that would come out today. I think it's decent and held up mostly because of the actual RE3 plotline. The Alice stuff is what holds it back, which is why it's going on to Jill Sandwich. Love Sienna Guillory's Jill Valentine. The Nemesis is at least cool in this. A lot of great action, a lot of fun moments, a lot of dumb zombie insanity, but yeah, there are some flaws. The villains are very weak. The Ashford idea was interesting, but they ended up just being the Birkins, or Diet William and Sherry Birkin, and Alice getting her God Mode powers would become the worst idea of this franchise moving forward. Nevertheless, I'll put this one on Jill Sandwich, because RE3 definitely got some love in this one. Yeah, Oded Fehr was Carlos Oliveira. Jared Harris, that one, he was Dr. Charles Ashford. He played the James Bond villain Mr. Weatherby in Robot Chicken, and King of England in Axe Corp, and Emile Nicholas in Morbius. He was in Morbius. Also played Amala Ali Akbar, Ancient One in Scooby-Doo, and Where's My Mummy, and Equinox in Batman the Brave and the Bold. I know that one. And Osiris in Destiny 2, and Jafar in Once Upon a Time, and Ra's al Ghul in Young Justice. Yeah, I heard him on that one. Okay, so I will defend, Apocalypse is actually a pretty decent movie, mostly because of RE3, but the Alice stuff is why it's going down a peg. This one is sadly the best of the Paul W.S. Anderson Alice saga, because it's gonna be a downhill ride from here on out. Nevertheless, I will admit, it's watchable. So after that came Resident Evil Mad Max, Extinction, and finally our first one going on You're Pitiful. Yeah, this movie sucks. It is a mess. Paul W.S. Anderson instantly butchers his continuity completely. Alice is the key to everything, the ultimate Mary Sue. We meet a ton of Resident Evil characters who basically do nothing but get outclassed and outshined by Alice, because Alice is the only one who matters. And this one is the infamous desert wasteland apocalypse, which would get retconned in the next sequel. So, the world is now destroyed. Somehow, a zombie apocalypse happened, and the Umbrella virus destroyed everything, including nature. The entire globe is now a Mad Max desert wasteland, and all of humanity are either with convoys or are insane weirdos lurking in the hills. Yeah, it's a really crazy movie. Everything is dead, and we get introduced to one of the worst plot points for all the way up to the final chapter. Alice gets cloned. Yes, we meet the Alice clones. Alice had her DNA stolen by Umbrella Corps, and they're trying to make Alice clones to capture the right one. How do Umbrella do this? Well, they plop an Alice clone in the scenario from RE1 where she lost her memories in the mansion, and then put her through danger room tests to see if she still has the same abilities and powers that the current Alice has. This makes absolutely no sense, and unfortunately we would be milking Mia Jovovich's Alice character for a long time. Yeah, we meet the Alice clones, they all die and they get tossed into a pit full of Alices. The real Alice is wandering the desert, trying to stop Umbrella Corps, trying to find out who she is and the answers and yada yada. Yeah, this is kind of a filler movie. The actual plot follows Claire Redfield. Yeah, Claire is in here, played by Ollie Larder, who I feel so sorry for because Claire Redfield becomes an Alice cheerleader. We meet Claire and she's guiding a Mad Max convoy across the desert trying to help innocent civilians find a safe zone. Yeah, it's kind of Walking Dead, Mad Max, and every zombie story ever now. They're trekking across the desert, dodging zombies and RE monsters. We meet the survival group, Claire Redfield, LJ came back, Carlos came back, Johnny Cage is weirdly in this movie, Lyndon Ashby plays like this cowboy southerner guy, and LJ's girlfriend who has like 2 lines and then she dies, and they recruit Alice as they're all traveling along the way, dodging a lot of Umbrella attacks. Dr. Marcus is the main villain in this, and he has this deranged obsession with trying to create the perfect super soldier and eventually use it on himself. He's trying to basically create the Tyrant all over again, and he believes Alice's blood and DNA holds the key, and he's trying to stalk her and find her just to get a fresh sample from the original Alice. Yeah, Ollie Larder as Claire Redfield. She played Clear Rivers in Final Destination, Pam Spinster in the Creepshow episode Dead and Breakfast or Pesticide. Poor Ollie Larder. She's actually a good actress, but she is not used very well. Oh, Dr. Isaacs. I thought it was Dr. Marcus. Also played Belmont in the Castlevania Nocturne and Bruce Wayne in Titans. That's right, he was in Titans. Jason O'Mara plays Albert Wesker. Wesker cameos in this movie for like 2 minutes, and he's basically in a corporate meeting. Yeah, Albert Wesker is one of the CEOs of Umbrella. This would also be retconned in future sequels because Paul W.S. Anderson did not give a crap. Yeah, we get Jason O'Mara as Wesker, and he's fine for like the 2 lines he says. He looks cool, he looks like the character, but he just sits there in the background. It's basically, OMG, it's that character we love. One scene I will say is good in this movie is we get to see the crows. Yeah, the Resident Evil zombie crows are in this movie. Marcus dispatches several zombies to try to capture and find Alice, and we see the crows from RE3 and I believe RE5. Yeah, the crows come in and they try to kill the convoy. LJ ends up dying, Carlos ends up dying. You don't really care because they're not really that fleshed out as characters. Claire Redfield and Alice become friends, and we're also introduced to Kmart. She's this goofy young survivor girl who looks up to Alice and would tragically go nowhere as a character beyond the damsel in distress. They try to capture Alice. Eventually, Dr. Isaacs or whatever finally gets a good formula and turns himself into a Titan. He becomes kind of this hybrid of like Mr. X and Albert Wesker. He turns into like a giant mutant titan and kills his own men with the power of tentacle rape. He wants to absorb Alice's powers to make himself a god. Yeah, that's the entire reason behind the zombie apocalypse. Umbrella wants to make super serums to make themselves physically, mentally, and supernaturally perfect. Yeah, he played Batman Bruce Wayne in Batman Hush, all the New 52 movies, basically. Sorry, reading comments. And he was Patriot in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay. Yeah, so he wants to become a super soldier and goes after Alice. Alice eventually makes her way towards the desert lab and has a fight with him in the laser room. Yeah, get used to seeing that image in all these movies. The laser room was in all of these Resident Evil movies, except for, ironically, Apocalypse. The laser room comes in and it basically slices them to death, and in one of the most BS hero victories ever, Alice teams up with her clone, and the clone somehow knows what's going on and how to operate this stuff and saves Alice. Dr. Isaacs is slashed by the laser grid, and that kills him. Yeah, some ultimate godlike super soldier, right? Yeah, Dr. Isaacs is turned into Swiss cheese, and Alice teams up with the only one she can trust in this world, herself. Alice gets a clone army leading into the next movie, which would immediately kill all the clones. Yeah, Extinction sucks. Extinction is the perfect summary of the entire Alice franchise. After this movie, there was nothing worth salvaging, and it got much, much worse. Madeleine Carroll is White Queen, also played Widget in Astro Boy, Audrey Miller and Jillian in The Haunting Hour. I have to remember which episode that was. Okay, so after that came Resident Evil Afterlife. And this one, tragically also going on You're Pitiful, but it will go above Extinction. So the best part of this movie is Albert Wesker. Wesker is played by Brian O'Connor from The Perfect School. Yeah, no joke, it's Brian O'Connor from the best Goosebumps episode, Perfect School. He plays Albert Wesker in live action now, replacing Jason O'Mara, and honestly, I really love him. His performance is the highlight. He looks like Wesker, acts like Wesker, and actually gets to copy scenes from the video game. Namely, we see RE5 all over this movie, and yeah, to his credit, Wesker is the highlight. Unfortunately, he came attached to a really crappy plot. So remember that clone army Alice recruits at the end of Extinction? Guess what? They all die in the first 10 minutes of this movie. Alice and her attack of the clones launch a siege on Umbrella's headquarters, try to kill Albert Wesker, and basically all the clones die. Wesker blows up the entire building, killing every Alice clone, because I guess they don't have her plot armor, but fights the real Alice, and Alice and Wesker get into a helicopter crash where she somehow ends up in the beach and has to go on an expedition to find herself again. For like the third time. Coco and Santa Claus 3, Janie Popper, Mr. Popper's Penguins, never watched it. Carol is a devout Christian and often speaks about her faith at religious events and conferences and during interviews. Okay, good for her. Yeah, Lyndon Ashby. Johnny Cage unfortunately died in Extinction, really anticlimactically too. So, basically, this is why this movie sucks. A whole lot of filler happens. Alice gets trapped on a building with these other survivors, and it becomes a generic zombie survival horror. This is the second episode of The Walking Dead. Alice and this group of random cannon fodder characters are all stuck on a rooftop of this big-ass, like, mall/prison building, and zombies are surrounding them at every turn. Wesker, I guess, dispatches the Executioner to go after her. We see the Executioner built up as this huge epic boss, and he's trekking across the zombie wasteland. Oh, remember how the entire Earth was a desert in the last movie? Well, that's no longer the case. Now we have life, and now it's a winter wasteland over a desert one. And Jillian from Nightmare Inn. Okay, that was her. Basically, we get a very time-waster filler plot of Alice and this group on a mall trying to escape from them. They rip off Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, and a lot of The Walking Dead. They're like on a rooftop, they're all fighting each other, there's a token asshole in the group. However, this is also one of the quote-unquote positives of the movie. Alice recruits Claire and Chris Redfield. Yeah, Claire is saved by Alice. She was converted by the spider drone from RE5 to be brainwashed as an Umbrella soldier. They managed to break Claire out, and now Claire has amnesia. She's trying to remember who she is, and Alice has to mentor her this time. And they find Chris Redfield, played by Wentworth Miller. Chris is like locked up in prison or something. Never explained why. It's implied that the game timeline is happening at the same time as these movies, but they do not do a good job explaining that for outside audiences. Oh, Audrey Miller from Detention, thank you. And she was Jillian in Nightmare. Okay, thank you. Yeah, basically, they work together. The Redfields are together on screen at last. Chris gets some shots in. Alice pretty much has no reaction to all the survivors dying around her. It is constant mood whiplash. One moment something dark and creepy happens, then the next loud ass action moment Alice cracks a one-liner, is always smiley and goofy. Even when innocent people are dying, it really is strange. It's not good. It's not a good mood. And the tone is all over the place. Eventually, the executioner breaks into the mall. The token asshole guy steals their plane and shows up later as a twist villain or something. Yeah, not good plot. Alice eventually teams up with the Redfields, and they manage to make their escape out of it. They steal like a boat or something, and Claire almost gets to be cool. She almost kills the executioner, but no, Alice is the one who gets the kill shot, shooting a bunch of quarters at it. Yeah, this also starts the 3D trend. There's a lot of crap thrown at the camera, a lot of jump scares, a lot of stuff coming at you in your face. Like a Resident Evil actor in The Haunting Hour. That would be cool if they were a character who mattered. But Alice is the only one who matters, and Alice is using her powers to kick butt, and it is so ridiculous. Mia Jovovich is never once scared, afraid, or weak in these movies. She easily overpowers armadas of zombies. She's running across like buildings, parkouring, doing ninja moves, and mouthing off to zombies and bad guys straight to their face. She is pretty much protected by plot armor at this point. And yeah, they make their great escape, and they have what's basically the only good point of this movie, the final battle against Wesker. They find out Wesker's on a battleship, and he's abducting people to test on them. Yeah, somehow Albert Wesker not only survived the crash, but ended up on this umbrella carrier boat, where he's carrying a bunch of victims to use as test subjects, including Kmart from Extinction. Honestly, I forgot who this character was completely. Yeah, Kmart is in there, and the Redfields and Alice fight Wesker, and this is the only good moment of the movie, the boss fight against Wesker. Yeah, again, the guy playing him does very good. He was good on Goosebumps, so of course he's good here. He has all the best lines, actual cool moments. They kind of rip off The Matrix a lot, but they kind of did that in RE5 too. Wesker fights them, and unfortunately, this is why the movie lost points again. He easily beats up Chris and Claire Redfield, so Alice can be his final fight. Yeah, Alice is the only threatening person towards Wesker. She beats his evil, bad CGI Cerberus mutts, like kicks glass through it, somehow killing it completely. She and Kmart work together, they beat up the treacherous asshole guy, and Wesker dies, getting capped by Chris and Claire when he's already kind of down. Yeah, it sure was nice of Alice to let Chris and Claire finish him off when he's already beaten up and lost. Yeah, they shoot him, but Wesker comes back to life by eating the asshole character, and this was Wesker's entire evil scheme. No joke. Wesker has been obsessed with Alice because he wants to eat her and consume her powers. Wesker wants an Alice sandwich. Yeah, that is the big plot twist. Wesker wanted to eat Alice because he will inherit her powers once he digests her. It is so ridiculous, but yeah, Wesker survives. He takes an escape pod, but Alice dupes him by planting a bomb on there, and he somehow survives and gets out of this, ending with the Redfields and Alice hijacking the umbrella boat and saving all the prisoners, sailing off to an unknown location. And we see one of the cannon fodder characters actually survived, and he found, I believe, another STARS team or some military group, with a post-credit scene showing Jill is now evil. Jill has the spider droid brainwashing her from RE5 and her blonde hair. It's nice seeing Guillory coming back as the character, and once again, she does look and act like Jill, but I'm not really excited to see her in the sequel, and based on what happens in Retribution, my fear was completely warranted. Yeah, Afterlife, it sucks. It's a bad movie. The only highlight is the guy playing Wesker. All the characters are second banana to Alice. It's basically a big Alice is the bestest ever fest until we get to the boss fight at the end. And yeah, Wesker is a cool villain. Unfortunately, they would not do him justice going forward. Next is RE Afterlife. We're talking about Afterlife now. Resident Evil Extinction was the #1 movie at the North American box office on its opening weekend, grossing $23 million. Yeah, it's Mia Jovovich in hot leather kicking ass. Of course it make money. The film's teaser trailer was shown with Ghost Rider. I do remember that. And I saw Sleeping Siren from Miraculous, and I give it a silver paw. Next is Afterlife. We just talked about Afterlife. It sucks. The only good thing about it is Wesker, which is why I'll put it up higher than Extinction. Might be the best of the crap, but the movie is still crap. I feel so sorry for the guy playing Wesker because he did a good job, but these sequels would ultimately completely neuter him. Yeah, Wentworth Miller was Chris Redfield. He did fine, but didn't get to act like Chris. Yeah, Afterlife is basically, look how awesome Alice is. Paul W.S. Anderson basically made Resident Evil into fanfiction to show off how cool and hot his wife was. And this is pretty much one of the first to start that trend, but it would not be the worst, because we are getting to the much worse, the follow-up, Resident Evil Retribution, which, going on to You're Pitiful. Yeah, this is where we got irredeemably bad. This is awful. Just awful. Alice is completely the center of the universe in this film. All the characters pretty much do everything for her or around her, and we pretty much have no plot from this point onward. So, somehow, Alice gets abducted and is being held hostage by Umbrella Corps. Jill Valentine and the Red Queen are working together, and they're doing tests on Alice all over again. But this time, a rescue squad is dispatched to save Alice, and it's comprised of actual Resident Evil characters. Yeah, we see Leon Kennedy, Barry Burton, and Ada Wong. But Jill Valentine's also here as a villain. Wesker's not in this one, sadly, but we do see the Red Queen return, and we get into Clone Mania. Yeah, a ton of characters from the entire RE movies come back as clones. We see Clone Michelle Rodriguez, Clone Captain from the security team, Clone Matt, Clone Evil Husband, and I think Clone Carlos was somewhere in there. Yeah, basically a bunch of clones, and they're literally mass-producing Alice clones. There's like literally this hilarious droid factory rack of Alice clones. They're trying to manufacture her into a super soldier for Umbrella Corps, and they're testing the Alice Zero, basically. She's thrown in a holodeck. She's tested. We meet an Alice clone. What would life be like if Alice was a normal civilian? And apparently Clone Alice has a daughter in one of these fictional holodecks. Yeah, and Clone Alice had a normal life with Clone Husband, and they had a daughter together. The civilian Alice died during a zombie attack. They're testing what their umbrella monsters can do or something, and civilian Alice dies, and the little girl is saved by Alice Prime, where she looks up to Mia Jovovich as her mommy. He is Paris in Romeo and Juliet. It's like a rotten cabbage every time a layer is peeled off. An even worse and gross layer than before happens. Exactly, okay. Remember when Resident Evil was about zombies and viruses? Now it's just the Clone Wars with laser rooms? Exactly. We spend so much time in this creepy white hallway. It is not pleasant to look at. Everything's like techno and squeaky clean, and there's really like no imagination here. It looks like a set from a Star Trek movie. We're like in a holodeck, we're going through a lot of underground layers and tunnels, and basically the real Resident Evil characters show up in this movie to save Alice. We see Leon, Ada, Barry, and yeah, Jill's here too on the side, try to save Alice, and the characters don't do jack. Yeah, you want the truth? Leon Kennedy doesn't do anything. Barry Burton just dies. Yeah, fan favorite character Barry is killed off, and Phaelus has a really appropriate and hilarious reaction to it. Yeah, Barry Burton, who came up with all the great quotes of RE1, he just shows up and dies. We meet Michelle Rodriguez, who kind of takes over as the villain. She's two versions of Rain. She's civilian Rain, and she's evil Rain. Yeah, Michelle Rodriguez plays a bitch in this, big shocker. So Rain kind of takes over as the villain. Rain is a clone of the original soldier, but works for the dark side and wants to be the superior Alice. Yeah, the movie's basically all about her. The Red Queen comes back. They retcon that the Red Queen was based off of the Umbrella creator, the Umbrella founder's daughter or something. This would be retconned in the next movie anyway. Yeah, the Red Queen's back and she's kind of an anti-villain. She helps Alice. She betrays Alice. She helps Alice. Ada Wong, okay, she does look hot. She wears the cocktail dress, and the actress playing her looks like the character, but acts nothing like her. Ada Wong is, once again, an in-name only character. Alice and Ada have this uneasy, rocky alliance. It goes nowhere. They pretty much just trust each other by the end of the movie. Barry Burton doesn't even say his iconic Jill sandwich line. You're right. Like, we see a laser decap. Yeah, the laser room comes back, and once again, it kills people. It kills the special squad. It was a big mistake killing off Barry Burton because, one, Barry is actually alive in the game universe, and two, he didn't do anything. This guy could have been literally anyone. They look like the characters, but they never act like it. Leon and Ada have no chemistry. There's this really creepy scene where Leon, like, comes on to Ada and kind of gropes her leg and she slaps him away. Yeah, Leon and Ada, the best couple of Resident Evil, have no romantic chemistry in this movie. Basically, it's a big-ass Clone Wars fight, and Jill Valentine and Rain kind of become the two villains. They're trying to kill Alice. Rain is envious that Alice is the better clone, and Michelle Rodriguez injects herself with a super virus upgrade, where literally shooting her doesn't even kill her now. She's, like, effectively immortal and invulnerable, and she and Jill have a tag team fight against Alice. The clone captain dies horribly. He like gets MK fatality'd. This is a really weird scene and feels like something from MK9. They have a Mortal Kombat fight and Alice almost murders Jill until she remembers, duh, she's brainwashed. And she rips off the spider droid from Jill Valentine's chest, exactly like in RE5, but the spider droid like turns into like a Terminator thing and tries to kill them anyway. Yeah, Alice of course kills it. Yeah, she was going to kill Jill Valentine knowing that she was brainwashed the entire time. And no, this is not, well, she only figured it out in this film. No, Claire Redfield also had the spider droid on her chest controlling her, so she knew ripping it off would free her completely. But no, Jill gets saved by Alice because Alice is the only one who matters in these movies. Alice saves everyone. Alice kicks butt. The rescue squad gets rescued by Alice at one point, and Alice defeats Uber Rain by kicking her beneath the Arctic. Yeah, she can't kill her with a regular gun or beatdown, so she shoots the ice that Michelle Rodriguez is standing on, and she sinks underneath where somehow a million zombies are swimming under the Arctic Ocean, and they drag Rain down where she dies underwater, I guess. Yeah, basically, it's all an Alice fest all over again. Alice didn't need rescuing, she saved herself. But the worst part of this movie, we get our twist ending. After Alice and the rescue ops make it back to Washington, D.C., we see Wesker is back. Wesker comes back and gives Alice back her God Mode powers and reveals that he wants to team up with her, where we get the infamous ending cliffhanger. We see Washington, D.C. has become a war zone kingdom. The White House has this big-ass fortress wall around it, and they're fighting the Red Queen's armada. Yeah, the Red Queen is the big twist villain, except not really in the next movie. The Red Queen is trying to take over the world, and there's an entire Lord of the Rings style fight going outside where Alice Wesker, Leon, Jill, and Ada Wong all unite for the final battle against the Red Queen's zombie army. And that's where the movie ends. This ending would be completely destroyed come the next sequel. Like why the spider droid control her? If you don't know, Akira, in RE5, there's this weird spider droid. It's supposed to be like a control unit, like an antenna. It plugs into their chest, and it leads to them controlling them completely like a puppet. Your mind, your body, your muscles, everything. They plug it into their heart, basically, and it's like right over their chest, and it was kind of an excuse to give Jill like a cleavage window to see how hot she looks. But yeah, basically ripping this spider droid off of their chest breaks the mind control. Though, in RE5, I do not think the spider droid came to life. It's literally just a device in the games. In the movie, they convert it into a Star Wars battle droid. Like, can lasers cut? They can completely burn you. Depending on how hot they are, they can slash you, but it looked cool. Red Queen and White Queen. My question when rewatching this dumpster fire is what happened behind the scenes that led to this disaster, and how did anyone at Capcom approve of this brand-damaging movies? Like, how and why? Well, these movies kind of came out before the internet spoiled everything, and we did not have, like, group forums. People did not trust, like, YouTubers reviewing movies at this point. They made a lot of money because Mia Jovovich is hot. She always wears hot outfits, tight leather that shows off her body, and she kicks ass beating up zombies. It was like advertised as dumb, fun, mindless action movies, but the dumb kind of drowned out everything else. Sorry my sister didn't come again. That's okay, Akira. If the last 3 Resident Evil movies were The Last Jedi bad, then the final chapter is The Rise of Skywalker level. Yep. Of we don't care, let it burn, and create every plot hole retcon in every movie. Also, the comics made absolute Catwoman. I really liked Ada Wong because she's pretty much Resident Evil Catwoman. She's the hot femme fatale. She works for her own side. She's always cool, mysterious, suave, flirty. She and Leon Kennedy are kind of the Batman and Catwoman of the RE games. Unfortunately, here she does nothing. Okay, so to wrap up, Retribution, it sucks. It is one of the worst movies of this saga. Unfortunately, it would not be #1 worst. It leads up to the final chapter, which would basically crap all over everything, even the fans who defended these movies, because the final chapter is awful. It is the worst entry on here. We finally made it, folks. We're at it, the final Alice chapter. Resident Evil, the final chapter, the grand finale to the Alice saga, and it sucks more than The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, I am not exaggerating, it is worse than The Rise of Skywalker. For starters, this retcons everything from the past 5 films. It tries to tie up everything in a neat little bow, bring everything full circle, and reveal Alice's backstory. How? By going back on everything we've seen in these past movies. So, remember that twist ending where Alice and the iconic Resident Evil gang team up to fight the Red Queen's forces at the White House? Guess what? Doesn't happen. That battle happened off-screen. Yeah, the big battle over Washington, D.C. happened off-screen. Wesker is now suddenly a bad guy again, even though he was teaming up with Alice at the end of the Retribution movie, and Jill, Leon, and Ada disappear without any mentioning whatsoever. No explanation, no hand-wave dialogue, nothing. Leon, Jill, and Ada Wong, who were set up as new allies in Retribution, they're gone. They're gone. Don't want to write them anymore. Paul W.S. Anderson wants to make this all about his hot wife. Yeah, and basically this is everything wrong with this saga on full display. Bad continuity, god-awful retconning and so much pandering of Alice. Alice is the only character who matters in this. Alice is the key to everything, and ultimately it turns Resident Evil into Alice's story. And we only see one character from the games, and it's Albert Wesker. Wesker is now demoted to the second in command to the real villain, Dr. Isaacs. Yeah, the doctor from Extinction comes back because clone. Yeah, the villain from Extinction cloned himself, and why did they bring this guy back? Because the actor was famous on Game of Thrones. Yeah, apparently this guy got huge again on the HBO Game of Thrones show, and a ton of other stuff, so they decided to cash in on him by bringing him back and revealing that he's Alice's ultimate doctor creator. Yeah, Dr. Isaac / Marcus, whoever, he comes back. The guy who turned himself into a Titan. He now has 2 clones, and Wesker is now his little bitch lapdog doing everything he commands. Yeah, after all the coolness we saw from Wesker, he's demoted to a side character, and as everyone in the comments and chat will point out, Wesker dies by a falling door. Third movie did the same with disappearing certain characters and they learned nothing. Yeah, nothing. Everything that is god-awful about the Resident Alice movies on full display in the final chapter. It is not good. First off, the editing is terrible. I could barely make out what I was seeing half the time. There's so many jump scares and jump cuts and shaky cam. It's like this movie came out of the late 1990s. The editing is garbage. 2, it's not scary. It's now an action movie. It's once again a zombie apocalypse movie where we find out there's a cure to the zombie outbreak. However, Dr. Isaacs wants to get his claws on Alice all over again. Alice basically travels around the world with another band of cannon fodder who don't matter, you don't remember their names, and Claire Redfield's here to be Alice's cheerleader. Like, a whole lot of nothing filler happens until the last half hour of the movie. It's basically a zombie survival horror show. It's like The Walking Dead or The Last of Us or the past RE movies. Very basic, very cliched, very generic stuff. Escape the zombies, kill the zombies. Dr. Isaacs is monologuing like a big-ass supervillain, and we're setting up for the big plot reveal that we're gonna see in the end. They finally make it back to Umbrella Corps where it all started, and we find out, are you ready for this? What's Alice's backstory? She doesn't have one. Alice is a clone. 6 movies, and that's the big twist. Something that even the kindergartners saw coming a mile away. Alice Prime is a clone. She's actually a clone off of one of the board members of Umbrella. We meet old Alice. Yeah, there's an old lady version of Mia Jovovich with really terrible elder makeup. She does not look good. Goosebumps makeup looks better than this. We meet old Alice, who reveals everything. She was created as a clone. She was given a lot of stuff and was going to be given the mind and memories of old Alice for a new body. And the Red Queen was also based on Alice as a child. Alice, the real Alice, is the daughter of the founder of Umbrella Corps. And this has been all for her. Old woman Alice, a door, like why not being put in lava, have a large boulder and rock it to the face? Yeah. Like Wesker is better. Yeah, Wesker should have been the main villain, but no, it's Dr. Isaacs because the actor became famous and they brought him back to life with cloning for Extinction, and I am just so done with the clone twists. It has gotten ridiculous. There's more clones in Resident Evil than the Clone Wars. Like it was wasted. I got a lot of comments to catch up on. Resident Evil Alice Saga sucks. Yeah, it does. Oh, she was Namie. Okay, yeah, every movie just kept getting worse, and the final chapter was the final nail in the coffin. Absolutely. Resident Evil, the final chapter, is not only the worst Resident Evil movie, but probably in my top 5 worst video game movies of all time. Yeah, this isn't just bad, people. It is like one of the worst films in the entire universe bad. Bad horror sequel, bad Resident Evil movie, bad video game movie of all time. Like it was wasted, like Thanos snapped. Yeah, they cut away from that big-ass battle. I would have preferred Paul W.S. Anderson's original vision, a big-ass final Lord of the Rings fight with Resident Evil characters. That's what people were hoping for from Retribution. But no, big screw you, that battle happened off-screen, and we're retconning a bunch of stuff for another Alice Fest. Also, Wolverine's having a new game. Yeah, I saw that, coming soon. Maybe a Wolverine tier list. That could be fun. Third movie did the same with the disappearing characters, and they learned nothing. Yeah, so characters keep disappearing. None of the iconic Resident Evil heroes do anything that matters in this saga. We never see Chris, Claire, Leon, Ada do anything meaningful. They just are there for Alice cheerleaders. Unfortunately, Claire is just cheering on Alice, and Claire has an evil boyfriend, her boyfriend, who is super nice guy and friendly. Turns out to be the twist villain, ratting them out to Dr. Isaacs. They have a big showdown in the Hive facility, where we get one last fight in the laser room. Yeah, lasers come in between the fight. Dr. Isaacs gives himself the super soldier formula again, only this time it just makes him Albert Wesker. He has the fast super speed, the super strength, and the powers that Albert had. Would have made more sense if it was actually Wesker as the final boss, but no. Like, Alice gets lasered, and it turns out there is a cure to the zombie virus. Apparently it can cure everything if it's shattered outside of the facility. It is like an airborne toxin that'll make all the zombies die and cure everyone. Dr. Isaacs takes this cure, has a big epic fight. We meet old Alice, and Wesker is killed by a falling door. Yeah, Wesker, the ultimate villain of Resident Evil, gets killed by a door crushing his foot. Yes, that's how the legend who wears his sunglasses at night goes out. Wesker takes old Alice hostage, and she closes a door on him, and it slices like his foot, and he bleeds out to death. That is how Wesker goes out in this saga. It is the biggest spit in the face to this franchise and its fans. I love Albert Wesker, and he goes out like a wuss. Yeah, that's it. A door closes on his foot, cuts it off, and apparently he dies bleeding out. Wesker does not have his super soldier powers, or, heals his wound, or is trying to save himself. No, he just dies right there, and old Alice spits on him as he's dying. Thanks, movie. Thank you for ruining one of my favorite icons of Resident Evil. Yeah, he dies, and the final fight is between old Dr. Isaacs and Alice, and eventually they kill him because she plants a bomb on him. Dr. Isaacs' clone betrays him, and then he gets eaten by zombies, and then Alice blows him up with the grenade, and she finally takes the cure vial. And how do we cure the entire zombie apocalypse? Well, Alice smashes the cure vial, and it releases the toxin in the air, and it spreads like wildfire. All the zombies just die. Yeah, all this build-up, all this hype, all this tension, and the zombies take one smell of that cure in the air in like 2 seconds, and they all fall over dead. That's it. Every Resident Evil monster and zombie is gone. The world is saved. Anyone who's infected, I guess, is automatically cured. And Alice saved the world. She goes unconscious for some reason, and then Claire wakes her up like a few seconds later, where we get to what Alice's story was all about, her becoming her own person, and the Red Queen is now good, offering Alice the memories of old Alice, who is now dead. They blew up the Umbrella Corps facility, and old Alice dies. I guess she was the true villain all along. And they give her the memories of Alice when she was alive, and telling her that these are your memories. You can now become a real girl. And this makes no sense, along with everything else in this movie, but this is really confusing. Those aren't your memories. You're a clone. Like, if anything, you should have a clean slate and start anew. But no, they give her Alice's memories, and Claire pretty much just is there cheering Alice on, telling her she's the greatest ever. And it ends with Alice riding off into the sunset like Wolverine, fighting a flying mutant monster who is somehow not dead from the cure vial. And that's the end of the final chapter. Yeah, it sucks. This is god awful. Like Game of Thrones, like Wesker is better. Yeah, Wesker is better. This movie doesn't have plot holes, but plot canyons, because they are so big that it destroyed the whole movie's plot point and questions what. Also, don't forget to mention another terrible plot point. The Alice we follow wasn't Alice at all. Yep, she's a clone. It's another clone. Alice was an old lady that was an Umbrella head CEO this whole time. Yeah, and old Alice dies. They, like, blow up the Umbrella facility, and she has, like, no reaction to it. She, like, just accepts her fate, realizing that her clone out-gambited her. Yeah, she was making fun of Wesker as he was dying, but Clone Alice, yeah, she's too OP. You were a worthy opponent. Hi, Kat. How are you? What's going on? Last thing I heard was worse than the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. We're talking about the Resident Evil movies. Don't worry, we have the good movies on here too. But we're wrapping up, mercifully, the Alice saga with the final chapter, which sucked. Yeah, old woman. A door, like why not in the lava pit with a large boulder and rocket to the face? Alice is a clone in the first movie. She had a life outside of Umbrella in the flashbacks, but this movie, that was a fake flashback, so forget about that flashback. Yeah, apparently they retconned it that they programmed fake memories into her. Yeah, it makes no sense. Alice was her own person in the first two films, but here, no, she's a clone of the CEO of Umbrella. We meet old Alice, and yeah, you were created to carry on my legacy, and Alice kind of accepts her own identity or some schmaltzy BS that doesn't work. Drink water and spit. Pfft, what? Since when did any of the Resident Evil games have any clones at all? They don't. Paul W.S. Anderson introduced this plot point and kind of ruined / retconned a lot of stuff, and I wish I could blame executive meddling on this screw up, but no. All 6 of these movies were directed and written by Paul W.S. Anderson. This was all his creative vision, and he literally retcons everything in each passing sequel to the point where none of it lines up. Or here's a better idea. Why couldn't the final villain be the founder of Umbrella, Oswald Spencer? You know, the actual head, like in the games? I think at this point it becomes obvious Paul W.S. Anderson did not play any of the video games, because only RE3 feels like he captured the feeling of that one. Moving forward, they're pretty much just spy thrillers / zombie apocalypse movies with Resident Evil in the background. No, it had to be Isaacs, who was a terrible villain in the third, and is still a terrible villain in the finale. Yeah, Dr. Isaac sucks. He's not a character. He doesn't matter, and honestly kind of comes across as a cross between William Birkin and Albert Wesker. He's a composite character of 2 much better villains, and he does not work. Yeah, no disrespect towards the guy playing him, but this character was not a compelling final boss. This is worse than the plot twist of Burton's Alice in Wonderland game? Absolutely. It's in every worst category: worst sequel, worst video game movie, worst horror movie, worst zombie movie, worst everything. Yeah, the final chapter was so hated that even people who simped for Mia Jovovich and defended this franchise could not defend this movie. It was a terrible finale, a terrible story in general. Terrible effects, terrible acting. Mia Jovovich pretty much sleepwalks in this movie in particular. A complete waste of everything Resident Evil. And at the end, it doesn't even feel like a satisfying conclusion. They kind of leave the door open for more potential in case this movie succeeded and will bring it back. But no, thankfully that hasn't happened. The Alice saga ended on a wet fart, and it is easily pitiful. Claire's unnamed boyfriend is evil. What a twist. Yeah. I can't believe a woman lost her arm because of this movie. Oh yeah, that's right. somebody got crippled by this movie, and I believe Alice's stunt double died during the making of this. Let that sink in, folks. 2 people got seriously hurt, 1 dead, and 1 crippled for life while making the final chapter. I give you my prayers because it was not worth it. What happened to Regeneration? Oh, that's down here. Oh, you mean Retribution? That one's also next to the final chapter. Like Resident Evil weak plot points. Yeah, basically, the problem with the Alice saga, Paul W.S. Anderson made it all about his wife. He wanted to keep his wife relevant, show off how hot she was, make her the bestest in the universe, and kind of simp for her, show how great Mia Jovovich is, but it did the opposite. It made her hated. It kind of ruined her career, and don't worry, Paul and Mia are off to ruin the Monster Hunters movie next. What was the movie version of Umbrella Corporation's motives and goals? Because they're all over the place, that it makes the New Order motive in the sequel trilogy make sense in comparison. Yeah, first they were trying to keep the zombie outbreak from happening, keep it a secret that they were making bioweapons, then they tried to take over the world, and then the Red Queen took over, then Wesker took over, then Dr. Isaacs took over. Paul W.S. Anderson is not good at continuity. Okay, I'm heading to the bookstore, so I'll see you later. Bye, cat. Bye, Bat-Kid. Wow. Paul W.S. Anderson should stay away from any video game movie after this dumpster fire saga. You know, the sad thing is, Paul W.S. Anderson actually made a good video game movie. It was called Mortal Kombat, and it was much better than his Resident Evil attempt. Man, I wonder, will there be more movies in your pitiful? Sadly, there might be. We do have the Netflix show. Oh, hey, there's Wolf. Why did the other people know what happened in the past if they were all fake flashbacks? Never explained. How did? Okay. I'm at Barnes & Noble. Okay, Kira. Wolf and I went there like one day. And it has Dan to Dan. Cool. The Resident Evil movie is worse than the sequel trilogy in the DCEU because there was a reason for why, like behind the sense of drama or meddling. All these movies were made by the same one person with no drama. Wow. Yeah, somebody died making this movie, and somebody got crippled for life in a stunt gone wrong. They did that for this pile of crap. I feel sorry. It was not worth it. That makes this movie even worse. 1 dead and 2 got hurt. This movie is 100 times worse. Absolutely. Also dead meat. Josh got trauma from the snake kills. I like it when Mia plays characters like in The Fifth Element and when she plays mothers in movies. Yeah, Mia Jovovich is a good actress. This is not her best character. This is not her best work. Mia pretty much did not try in the last 2 movies. She was pretty much sleepwalking and acting like Girl Wolverine. And Paul W.S. Anderson kind of torpedoed his wife's career even more thanks to these garbage sequels. And they're off to ruin the Monster Hunters franchise next. They released the first movie. I've not watched it. I heard mixed reception, but it might be much better than the Resident Evil saga, that's for sure. That's awful. The manga were aliens versus humans with monster hybrids. Okay. Like ask Wolf to watch the clips. I might, but Wolf might not do it. But alright, let's finally escape the Resident Alice saga. 4 of them suck. These sequels suck. Apocalypse is the only one worth watching, and Resident Evil 1 tried. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's also kind of a generic zombie movie. Apocalypse, easily the best one. All 4 of the later sequels, all trash. They're all pitiful. Will we see more that aren't Paul or Mia's messes? We'll find out soon. Alright, let's finally talk about some good movies. The CGI anime Resident Evil movies. We're starting with the first, Resident Evil Degeneration, the Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield movie. And this one, going on to, might put it on Rookie. Okay, so, yeah, most of the animated films are gonna be a million times better than the Resident Alice saga. This is Degeneration. It's an animated movie, free on YouTube right now, so go check it out. So, they finally decided to do the unthinkable, make a Resident Evil movie focusing on the game characters. I know, crazy, right? This one follows Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield. Leon and Claire are like at an airport, and suddenly zombie terrorist attacks are occurring in America. There's these zombies going around different cities in America attacking places. Leon and Claire meet up at an airport, and the airport is attacked 9/11 style with zombies. A zombie infection happens on an airplane cruiser. It crashes and spreads them all across the airport. The first half of this movie takes place at an airport, and the second half takes place at a pharmaceuticals building. Yeah, it's kind of a much low-key movie compared to the Resident Alice stuff. We meet Leon Kennedy and Claire, actually voiced by their game counterparts, and this is like the first time they're meeting each other again after RE2. Apocalypse was a huge win with Sienna as Jill, let's be honest. Yeah, absolutely. Like it's just Teen Titans clones? Exactly. It's alright, bad enough the movie's trash, but 2 injured and 1 dead because of these movies. Yeah, that's why it's unsalvageable. Finally, something good after the dumpster fire. It's like fresh water and air at the same time. Have all the CGI movies on DVD because they're worth keeping watching over the awful live-action sequels. Okay, so I do like Degeneration. I was afraid I wasn't gonna like it. The worst thing about this movie is some of the CGI is a bit janky in places. It was a 2000 CGI movie. A lot of it does look good, particularly the fight scenes and a lot of the action, though some of the characters just standing around talking, you do start to realize there's something kind of off-putting around them, especially the Dick Senator character. So we have basically a murder mystery type of plot. Somebody is committing bioweapon attacks on the US, causing terrorist stuff, and we meet a lot of creepy suspects. There's this Dick Senator who's cartoonishly evil. Yeah, kind of like real senators, right? We meet this Dick Senator. We meet this nice, sweet British guy who's like a love interest for Claire Redfield. Leon gets a love interest cop lady. She's more or less Helena from RE6, but yeah, Laura Bailey even voices her. There's this nice cop lady with a dark and troubled past, and we meet a mysterious drifter going around. It turns out the drifter is actually causing these bioweapon terrorist attacks because he was a victim of the Raccoon City incident. This guy is actually the brother of Discount Helena. He was infected by the virus, and he wants revenge against the US government and Big Pharma. Yeah, actually Will Pharma, but it's kind of this big pharma company. He wants revenge against the government and the pharmaceuticals company because they tried to cover up the Raccoon City incident. They tried to hide everything, pretend there weren't victims in all this, and basically, he was experimented on and infected. He's actually a tyrant type of monster, more like William Birkin. He has a mutation, and he's been causing zombie terrorist attacks to expose the government and get back at everyone. He transforms into like William Birkin's monster form as the movie goes on, and he's actually the brother of the cop lady Leon's romancing. Yeah, one of the controversial parts of this movie, Leon and Claire have new love interests, and the fandom did not like them very much. Degeneration strengths are, of course, Claire and Leon. Was great having Paul Mercer as Leon in this. Yeah, Paul Mercer, the classic Leon Kennedy, plays his character again. He does a pretty fine job, though some of the facial animations do look kind of off when he's doing his dramatic lines. But I do like Matthew Mercer a lot more than Paul. Like, maybe Wolf can do a Supernatural anime tier list? Maybe. Who played in this anime? We do have Paul Mercer, who played Leon Kennedy, I believe in Resident Evil 4, the original. He comes back to play his character again in a movie, and yeah, it's great hearing him again. He's like one of the classic RE characters, and Claire Redfield's in this, also played by her RE2 voice actress, I believe. Laura Bailey plays the cop lady Leon's romancing. I do know Roger Craig Smith also appears in the movie as a side character. He's like an expendable soldier who like idolizes Leon. And Steve Bloom is also a soldier who dies in this. I recognize Steve Bloom because he uses his Tom voice. Not Matthew Mercer, it's Paul Mercer in this one. Matthew Mercer took over as Leon in the future CGI movies. So basically, this guy is going around trying to get revenge for the Raccoon City incident, and he's slowly transforming into a William Birkin-esque monster. He, like, grows the giant eye. He's, like, hunched over, has all these tentacles coming out of him. He was a victim of this conspiracy, and he's just getting back at the government for trying to lie about it and open people's eyes that zombies are still a threat upon the world. We're led to believe the Dick Senator is the villain because he's the most obvious suspect, but no, Claire's boyfriend was the twist villain. Yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson did rip this off. The nice British scientist guy is actually a corrupt former Umbrella scientist, and he's been selling BOWs on the black market, and it's why the terrorist brother is going after him. He tried to attack them at the airport. They managed to escape with mostly everyone alive. They find out that Big Pharma has Umbrella technology and viruses being secretly built by the British boyfriend guy. He's actually a traitor trying to sell this on the black market. We do get hints that this guy actually does love Claire, because he tries to warn her to leave the base. He's like very romantic towards her, protective of her, but no, he's actually a sleazy bastard who is using Claire as a witness and tried to save her through his own twisted way. Leon knows how to win the ladies like Batman. Yep, he does. No Matthew Mercer Akira, he comes in the next one. It's Paul Mercer, who does a pretty good job. Yeah, Leon gets a new love interest. He and Cop Lady are kind of becoming friends. Cop Lady is more or less Helena from RE6, to the point where Laura Bailey even voices her. I'm kind of shocked that this woman didn't become the RE6 partner, because they're kind of the exact same. But yeah, Cop Lady and Leon become a romance. Claire and British guy become a romance, and people do not like them because Leon belongs with Ada Wong. That's the #1 romance ship. And Claire, I like her and Steve. I know, controversial, but Steve Burnside honestly is an underrated Claire love interest. Are Matthew and Paul related as brothers? I don't know. Can someone point that out in the chat or comments? Are Paul and Matthew Mercer related? I honestly don't know. I thought they just had the same last name. Okay, so they go to basically what's Big Pharma. They call it Will Pharma, but come on, they knew what they were doing. They go to Big Pharma. It turns out British boyfriend sabotaged the company to get rid of the terrorist brother. The terrorist brother is trying to expose him and his operation, and they have a big classic Resident Evil fight there. And the decontamination protocols are activated, where Leon, Claire, and Cop Lady work together to stop the brother. Eventually, they're forced to kill him. He keeps coming back as like a reoccurring boss fights. Leon and Cop Lady fall in love, have a big kiss during a CPR moment. They kill terrorist brother. He reveals the truth that he was just trying to stop the true mastermind, the evil British scientist. Claire realizes they've been played. The senator is exposed. He was unintentionally connected to terrorists and Umbrella Corps, but they stop the British boyfriend. He tries to get away, but Claire Redfield satisfyingly ambushes him and takes him down. He actually is captured alive. This is like the first RE villain who doesn't die. He does get arrested. They expose everything. They prove that the brother was a victim in all this, and the senator gets killed off screen by Tricell, hinting that RE5 is happening next. Yeah, Tricell makes a cameo at the end. We see a brief cameo of Wesker, I believe, and yeah, the Dick Senator dies. He got shot off screen or something, and Tricell is taking over from Big Pharma, hinting at plot points that won't happen again until RE5. Okay, they're not. Thank you, Shadowlink. Also, Disney is making an anime called Twisted Wonderland. Oh, kind of scared, but also curious. Okay, so Degeneration honestly isn't too bad. It will get outclassed by these later CGI movies, but honestly it's fun, it's simple, it's a standard entryway Resident Evil story. It has everything great about the franchise. Leon and Claire are awesome heroes, has a gripping political conspiracy story, has a lot of kick-ass zombie action. The animation does hold up in most places. Some of it is a bit sketchy, but the animation did improve as these films go on. The story is simple, but I do enjoy it for that same reason. It's very easy to get into. Bask in all the Resident Evil lore, the tone of this universe, all the kick-ass action. The villain feels a lot like a discount William Birkin, and it's funny hearing Laura Bailey as a cop superhero in this, which is what Helena would essentially be in RE6. And I do like Leon and Cop Lady's romance. I did not hate her like a lot of fans do, and besides, she doesn't even come back anyway. But yeah, Degeneration honestly isn't too bad. I will put it onto what's basically B tier onto Rookie. It definitely gave us a lot of hope after the Resident Alice movies did not. Also, I got in Barnes & Noble, manga called The War of Greedy Witches. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, Degeneration honestly is a decent watch. I would still recommend it. It's miles better than these terrible films, so that's automatically selling you on it, I hope. Yeah, this one going on to Rookie. Fortunately, it would be outclassed by the next one, Resident Evil Damnation. Tragically, they got rid of Claire, but good news, they replace her with Ada Wong. Leon and Ada Wong go to Russia, uncovering a political civil war. Damnation, I will put onto Jill Sandwich. Yeah, I might put it above Apocalypse. Yeah, I love you, Sienna, but yeah, Damnation is a damn good movie. Leon Kennedy and Ada Wong get involved in a political conspiracy as there's a civil war happening in this fictional country, which is pretty much Russia. Like, it's Russia, all the people have Russian accents, everything's like pro-military, and there's a political war going on right now. So, the villain of this movie is an evil Russian lady who's president, and she's trying to stop this violent resistance. We're led to believe the violent resistance are using BOWs and causing a lot of mayhem in Russia, but we find out, surprise, the Russian government is evil and corrupt. Evil Russian lady is actually a corrupt dictator oppressing the people, and the resistance are fighting to get their freedom back. They're using the BOWs because the Russian military is also using BOWs. They're fighting fire with fire, and Russia is like infected with a bunch of lost plagas. Yeah, the plagas are the zombies in this. We see them open their mouth frills and actually infect some random soldier with one of the parasites. Love this one. Leon and Ada are both great in this, and I definitely like the action more and the plot in this. Yeah, this one, definitely one of the good movies. I do have a problem with the villain. Evil Russian lady could have been a great villain, but she's not really fleshed out. We don't get to know much about her. It's hinted that she has this deep, compelling backstory, and she's also infused with like a Las Plagas parasite, but it gives her like superpowers like Salazar and the cult leader. Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name. Now I'm blanking out. Sadler. That's it. Sadler and Salazar. Yeah, she has Las Plagas, and basically this resistance is fighting her. It turns out the resistance are the good guys. Leon Kennedy is brought in by the US to help quell this civil war and tensions, but he stumbles upon this conspiracy that this evil guy named Buddy is trying to take down the evil dictator lady and save their people. And yeah, there's a lot of good scenes in here, a lot of epic fight scenes, a lot of slick animation. The climax is badass in this film with the Titans fighting the tank. That one was epic and definitely better than anything from the Resident Alice final battles. The Call of the Night, still no Resident Evil manga. I'm sure there are comics. Also, they have Ultraman. Ooh, along came a Spider-Man. Okay, so basically, we're in Russia. Leon meets with this resistance. He meets a guy named Buddy. Yeah, seriously, Buddy. And I do not like his second in command. We meet that really weird comic relief soldier. Oh, you from America? That place is the bomb, man. I go to US, I be famous rapper one day. Oh, yeah, I did not like this guy. He was so annoying. I think JD was his name. Yeah, this funny Russian comic relief resistance fighter, and every time he cracked a joke, it kind of ruined the mood or tone they were going for. It turns out Buddy was a victim of the oppression, and he is raising his own BOWs by giving himself a Las Plagas parasite to control the monsters. The resistance fighters are making an army of lickers, but the lickers are completely under control of this human leader. He's using his Plaga parasite to puppet the lickers and take down the government. However, it turns out evil Russian lady was evil the whole time, and they were manufacturing their own bioweapons. They have tyrants in storage, and they eventually unleash the tyrants when they realize the resistance is winning. While not voiced by Sally Hill, which was my favorite Ada voice actress, Courtney Taylor, who voices her in Damnation and RE6, still does a good job. Yeah, I love Courtney Taylor as Ada Wong. She sounds really suave and cool and sexy. Really hilarious knowing she'd play Jack in Mass Effect. By the way, the reason I love Dan is the character and have a white cat named Turbo Granny, which her soul on the Lucky Cat body. Okay. Alright, so I don't like this funny comic relief guy, and the Russian president lady is severely underused as a villain. Ada Wong is brought in, and Ada Wong, of course, does what she does best. She's a kick-ass spy, she's a merc, she's playing for her own side, and she and evil Russian lady get a sexy cat fight. Easily one of the other highlights of this film. Yeah, I love Ada Wong. She's Resident Evil Catwoman. She likes to steal stuff. She's cool. She's kick-ass. Always well-mannered, polite, and has the upper hand even when it seems like she's losing. Ada Wong is awesome. I really wish we got more of her in the video games or in the movie. Sadly, Ada and Leon barely interact in this film, which was kind of my other negative. Yeah, Ada and Leon, I was hoping they have romantic banter or at least kiss in this, but no, they don't. They barely meet and kind of help each other. Leon teams up with Buddy, and they eventually defeat the twin tyrants, have this big epic tank battle, and yeah, it is awesome. It is really cool. They defeat the tyrants, all the Lickers soldiers are killed, the zombies all die. However, Buddy gets crippled because the Plaga parasite is slowly taking him over. It's taking over his spinal cord, but Leon saves him by shooting it. But could see it in live action, yeah. People want to see Ada Wong versus Catwoman in Death Battle. That would be awesome. Ada Wong and Catwoman Death Battle would definitely give them big views. And honestly, I'm kind of curious who would win, because Ada and Catwoman are both badass femme fatales. Okay, so Buddy is miraculously saved by Leon shooting his spine. Leon somehow knows where the Plaga virus ends up exactly. I guess from RE4. He shoots it and the Plaga virus dies but leaves Buddy in a wheelchair. And they did it. They saved Russia. They took down evil communist dictator lady. And the Russian president is running away. She's alive and she's retreating. Her government's exposed. They had BOWs of their own. And they caused the zombie apocalypse, which nearly destroyed their nation. Unfortunately, they tease that the Russian lady is going to be back in a later movie, but it never happens. We never see her again. She's not even mentioned. She just disappears. Evil Russian lady gets away, but she lost all her power. She's no longer in charge of the country. It would have been nice if we got a final boss fight with her, but no, they save her for a sequel, which still hasn't happened yet, and yeah, that's kind of why Damnation is not an S tier. They kind of leave a lot hanging. The ending is a bit rushed. They tie up all the plot threads in this film, but Leon and Ada never talk to each other again, and I guess they're hinting that RE6 is on the horizon. Evil Russian lady gets away, never comes back. Buddy saves the nation. He's now a hero, but he's in a wheelchair. And yeah, they brought peace to this world, and ending its Damnation. Honestly, this one's not too bad. Oh yeah, I forgot Wesker makes a cameo. He's talking to Ada Wong at one point, and yeah, that's really it. Okay, so Damnation, I think, is a pretty good movie. It's entertaining, it's fun, it's cool, it's kick-ass. Leon and Ada absolutely steal the show. The final fight with the Twin Titans is easily one of the best Resident Evil fights of all time. I really wish this actually became a boss fight in the main games, but hasn't happened yet. Yeah, Damnation. Honestly, the animation also got better. The CGI looks good. The action looks good. The story is definitely interesting, has a lot of political conspiracy and intrigue, and one of the much better ones at it, if I may add. I'll put it onto Jill Sandwich. It's an A-tier movie for me, but not the S-tier. Alright, I gotta use my first restroom break, but guys, why don't you cast your vote for what you want to see next? You want to do the next movie, or one of the infamous TV shows, or knock off a negative one or a positive one next? Might save Death Island for last, but yeah, cast your vote on what you want to see. We're on the final 5. I'll be right back. Alright, Cats Respawn and back. What'd you guys vote for? Sigh, well, I do want to get another bad one out of the way. Let's do Welcome Raccoon City. Ugh, or the TV show. Like, can we see a clipless review of Damnation? Honestly, Akira, I might actually be able to do a clip review of Damnation because it's also on YouTube. Shows, by the way, so Infinite Darkness or the other RE Vomit. Okay, let's bite the bullet and get rid of the Netflix Resident Evil show. The one about Wesker's daughters. Yeah, this one sucks. Going on to You're Pitiful. So far, this was the last Resident Evil TV show, and it's not hard to see why. The Netflix Resident Evil show sucks. You know why? Because it has nothing, and I mean nothing, to do with the Resident Evil saga. Wesker has 2 black daughters, and they move to Africa, where they cry about their privilege for 5 episodes before getting to the actual plot. Yeah, Wesker is a single dad raising his 2 bratty teenage daughters in this umbrella corporate town while a conspiracy happens under their noses, where we get 90% of these 2 teen girls getting into CW tween drama until a Resident Evil plot happens. Who married Wesker? That's not Wesker, it's Blade, yeah. So, Wesker is black now. He's played by Lance Reddick because his talent outclassed his skin color. And this is a problem not because of race, because Wesker being black makes him look like Blade. And I was right. In the show where we see Wesker, he looks like Blade. It is so hilarious. Yeah, this is kind of one of the problems with race changes. The character not being the same race kind of makes the character look weirder. And Wesker definitely is one of the worst cases because he looks like Blade. He looks like Blade. Wears the black long coat, the sunglasses, and even shaves his hair like Wesker's haircut. It looks so ridiculous. But how is Wesker here and how is he a dad? Well, clones! Yes, clones are back. So we find out Wesker isn't Wesker Prime. He's a good clone of Albert Wesker. Wesker, before his death in RE5, made clones of himself. The clones are named Al, Bert, and Albie. Are you laughing yet? Yeah, Wesker had 3 clones, and one of them became a father, making clone daughters who he wanted to love and raise and cherish as his family. The Wesker we're following is the good clone, and they hints that there's something off about him, make you kind of question, is this really Wesker? And we get a really stupid reveal in the penultimate episode. Basically, no actual plot happens until the last 2 episodes of an 8-episode series, and all the episodes are like an hour long, so you are in for a long, excruciatingly, painfully padded out wait. What? Yeah, Black Wesker is Blade. Like, look at pictures of Lance Reddick's Wesker. He looks like Blade. It is hilarious. That's not Wesker, it's Blade. So what, Lothor with his teenage daughters be like? Kind of. Since when did Wesker have daughters or any children from the games? Well, he had Jake Mueller, and honestly I was really hoping when they said, oh, the show's actually about Wesker and his kid, I was hoping that meant Jake Mueller from RE6 would come back, since I actually like Jake from RE6, he's Wesker's actual son. But no, Wesker has 2 black daughters, and basically, it's about watching these teenage girls undergo tween drama for 6 out of 8 episodes. Yeah, we see Wesker's daughters deal with privilege, deal with bullies, deal with prom. Isn't that what you wanted to see out of Resident Evil? Wesker's daughters being shy about going to prom. Well, thank you, Netflix. You made me a subscriber fast. Like he feels like he's better as Blade, but MCU already have a Blade actor. We'll see. Mahershala Ali has been talking about quitting that. So much wrong with the series. 1, unlikable main characters. Yeah, the main characters aren't even Resident Evil characters. It's Wesker's daughters, Jade and Billy Wesker. And the story, we find out, is about these 2 sisters turning into enemies. The 2 sisters at first love each other, have each other's back. Jade is the outspoken, obnoxious activist, and Billy's the shy, socially awkward loner, and basically, it tries to be like Transformers 1 in Resident Evil. The story's all about these 2 siblings becoming bitter enemies. It's not about Resident Evil or the zombie apocalypse. It's about Wesker's daughters trying to find their identities and ultimately becoming enemies. Jade becomes the hero, while Billy joins the Umbrella Corps and becomes a villain following in Albert Wesker's footsteps. Yeah, 1, unlikable main characters, 2, plot is mostly dumb and boring, and 3, hardly any of this has to do with Resident Evil, 4, the clone BS again, 5, terrible villains. Yeah, so Albert Wesker is not even the actual villain in this. We see the real Wesker in flashbacks, but Wesker's good clone is kind of the real Wesker in this show, and guess who the villain is? Dr. Marcus, who is kind of a female version of Dr. Isaac, so yeah, once again, lame villain. This evil female doctor is like set up as the main villain. She's kind of a knockoff Excella Gione, except without the charm, sex appeal, and coolness factor. She's really annoying, and guess what? You remember how the Scarecrow loved to sing and dance on Titans? Well, Dr. Science Lady has a singing and dancing sequence too! What is up with these weird shows having the villain sing and dance doing villain songs? It does not work for these franchises. What? Yeah, we get clones again. Clones are all over this. Even the daughters are implied to be like test tube babies. They're clones made off of Good Wesker's DNA. Yeah. Basically, it's about the two sisters trying to find themselves and eventually finding themselves becoming enemies. And they kind of steal a page out of the Chucky series where we have half the show taking place in the past and the other half in the future. There's like a time skip at the end of every episode where we see the zombie apocalypse has happened and actual Resident Evil stuff is happening in the future stuff, where we see Jade is like leading a resistance, trying to fight, and it's building up to the twist villain. We think it's Evil Science Lady, but no, Evil Science Lady has been brainwashed and turned into a robot, and is really serving her sister. The shy, socially awkward sister Billy has turned to the dark side, and becomes the female Wesker. Oh no more clones. Did no one hear anyone complain about the Resident Alice in Zombieland evil movies? Like, why? Sonic X laugh like lame. Yeah, clones are back. Albert has a ton of clones. The two sisters are implied to be clones. And yeah, they're cloning a bunch of characters. Basically, we don't see any of the other Resident Evil characters because, get this, the producer of the show wanted the Resident Evil Netflix series to last as long as the Supernatural show. He wanted 15 to 20 seasons where eventually it'd be about the sisters meeting a Resident Evil character in each season. We were gonna see Chris Redfield, Leon Kennedy, Jill Valentine, and Ada Wong in future season story arcs. Yeah, pretty much, even Netflix laughed out this idea, and the show was canceled after one season. Like, lame. Just realized something. What's with these bad live-action Resident Evil projects, obviously, with not using any of the main characters from the games, clones, and zombie apocalypses, which never happened? Like, I'd rather watch other shows like Dan to Dan and Witch Watch. Oh, anything's better than this, man. Like, it feels like perfect school clone syndrome. Sigh. Yes, she does. Yeah, Evil Science Lady has a song and dance number in this. She's really like being remotely controlled by Evil Billy. She, at some point, betrayed Science Lady and converted her into her toy puppet. It is very confusing and, believe it or not, a reference to RE5's mind control, but in there it was actually creepy and dead serious. Like, worse than Gabriel Agreste dance in season 5. Yeah, much worse, because she actually sings the song she's dancing to. And his dance is terrible. Yeah, all these. I'm so sick of these shows having, let's have the villain awkwardly and randomly sing and dance for no reason. Titans did this with the Scarecrow. Resident Evil did this with Evil Science Lady. And even Miraculous Ladybug did this. It is so bizarre and kind of kills the tone instantly. Why does the evil Doctor Lady dancing and singing that take anyone out of the mood? This is a Resident Evil and this BS wasn't in any of the games. You know, they try to pander to the modern audience demographic, but kids do not know the original Resident Evil lore, and older fans are going to be absolutely put off by this BS. So, what does this have to do with Resident Evil? Outside of Wesker, we see cameos from Resident Evil monsters. The giant spider appears. The giant crocodile has like a chase scene for 5 seconds. We see a Titan is released. It's implied this Titan is going to become Mr. X or a new generation's Mr. X. And we even see the sackhead chainsaw guy from RE4 like in a cage at one point. They basically flash a bunch of member berries and references over, see, you remember this from the game? You remember this from the game? It's kind of like Resident Evil, right? Female Wesker. Yeah, that's what Billy is supposed to become. Was this show directed by Paul W.S. Anderson? Because it's obvious. Like, I rather watch Supernatural. Yeah, the guy who produced Supernatural also produced this show, and boy, is it a horrid example of how the mighty have fallen. The guy who produced Supernatural produced this, and wanted it to be longer than the Winchester Brothers' adventures. Yeah, it got canceled after one season, folks. There is no point in watching this show. It is 6 episodes of boredom, followed by 2 episodes of cringy plot. Now, villains like the Joker can get away with silly dances like in Batman 89. He's an unpredictable, laughable madman that does what he wants. That's basically a status quo. Yeah, they try to do like a funny villain, but it does not work for every antagonist, especially in a Resident Evil story. The show would have ruined every character in each season. Thank God it was canceled. Yeah, thankfully. Yeah, we would have seen like an arc with Ada Wong, then an arc with Chris, then an arc with Leon, and I want to see these actual characters star in a Resident Evil plot. I don't want to see somebody's stupid OCs hogging the spotlight, which this ended up being. And yeah, it is worse than these Resident Alice movies. The final chapter was definitely a sin against nature, and it won some points because Lance Reddick is the only one trying in the show, but it's a mess. It does not feel like Resident Evil at all. It is basically somebody's teen drama fanfic set in the Resident Evil universe. The RE lore and mythos is a background element. It's about these 2 sisters getting into wacky shenanigans and full of so much padding and stupid. It really probably should have been a Resident Evil movie because so much of it could have been cut out. That little happens. Also, this bomb of a show have 15 seasons with this abomination start of a plot. Yeah, now that's a laugh. Yeah, imagine this would have wanted... The producer wanted this to go on for 15 to 20 seasons. Yeah, everybody, including Netflix, laughed that idea out of the room. It was that bad. Like, the first season wasn't even entertaining. You expected people to stick around for more of it? And yeah, it ends on the twist where Billy and Jade get away, but Billy is infected, which means nothing because we see the future where Billy's still alive and healthy and becomes the villain. Billy and Jade are going to become arch enemies fighting in the Resident Evil war, and a post-credit scene shows that they're releasing a new Mr. X, hinting at a second season that thankfully is never gonna happen because this show bombed. Evil Doctor Lady Dancing wouldn't be bad in a different show or content, but in a horror thriller with survival and body horror game franchise, that just don't fit. No, it does not. Like Emperor Bellos never sings and dances, thankfully. Like, I don't toy with me, Miss Nagatoro. This dumpster fire of a show can be buried next to Velma, Gotham Knights, Star Wars Acolyte, Willow in the TV show no one likes category. Exactly. It was bad. It doesn't even feel like Resident Evil. That's how disconnected this show was. And it wins rock bottom next to the final chapter because I could at least sit through these bad movies. This one at least had a good Wesker. A bad show is much more painful to sit through. The Netflix series was complete trash. Do not watch it unless you like to torture yourself. Wesker's daughters are unlikable. Nothing happens for most of the show. Any reference to RE is all member berries and flash in the pan references. The story is boring, the villains suck, the heroes suck, the storytelling sucks, and ironically they take out all dramatic tension and stakes by revealing that there's a jump forward to the future where the 2 sisters are alive, so there's no tension in the flashbacks. Also, I found a manga called Cat Gamer. Oh, cool, Kira. Okay, so to wrap up, do not watch this show, guys. It is bad. It is just as bad as the final chapter, but the final chapter I still think is worse because it's one of the worst movies of all time. It barely makes it by because Lance Reddick was at least trying, even if he was Blade Wesker. But yeah, trash. You're pitiful. Alright, let's talk about something a little better. Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. So, believe it or not, this one won't go on to F tier, but it's going on to what? What is this? This is the Netflix reboot, Welcome to Raccoon City, which made the worst mistake ever. It tried to be Resident Evil 1 and 2 at the same time in a compressed film. 20 seasons, that's way too long. Even if it was good, that's way too long. Also, Wouldn't the actors still age if they want to keep the child actors in flashbacks? Exactly. That's what a lot of people don't think about. The actors are going to get older in age, and they're children now, but are you going to have like 15 seasons of their younger years? Okay, this is the other Netflix film, Welcome to Raccoon City, and I initially had such high hopes for this film. The casting is actually really good. I liked some of the actors who starred in this, and there was an attempt to replicate the video games, namely 1 and 2. But we get to the big problem. It is very cluttered. It is crammed. They force in 2 major plots from the Resident Evil saga into an hour and 40-minute film, and it does not flow well. That's kind of the big problem. There's too much story that you do not feel the same experience as the gamers did playing these stories. Yeah, that was its first mistake. There's others too. Namely, Leon Kennedy and Albert Wesker also get character assassinated. I'd argue Jill Valentine did too, but we'll talk about that. Okay, so this is the story of Resident Evil 1 and 2, and unfortunately it takes a long time to get the plot rolling. We see a lot of references and scenes straight out of the game, namely the remakes of RE1 and 2. Lisa Trevor makes a cameo. We meet all the colorful cast and characters, and unfortunately there are way too many characters in this. We have Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Claire Redfield, Albert Wesker, Leon Kennedy, and William Birkin. Yes, William Birkin is the villain, played by Neil McDonough, who was clearly a good choice after playing the best M. Bison from Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. Yeah, I do not know why, but Neil McDonough has a god-awful streak when it comes to video game adaptations. Like, Neil McDonough, the guy played the worst M. Bison ever, so we cast him as William Birkin. Birkin is technically the villain in this. They also got Harvey Bullock from Gotham. I forget his name, Luge or something. Yeah, Harvey Bullock plays Chief Irons, and I thought he was perfectly casted. Honestly, I like the cast they chose for these characters. Robbie Amell looks like Chris Redfield. They got Avon Yogia. Beck from Victorious plays Leon Kennedy, who I was actually hyped to see, and Neil McDonough plays William Birkin. To his credit, he does look like the character in this, much more than M. Bison. And there was one more. Yeah, Harvey Bullock from Gotham plays Chief Irons, and I thought he was perfectly casted as the corrupt police chief. However, there is a lot of plot in this movie, and it is crammed and cluttered, exactly like the Dark Tower movie. Too much plot happens, and then too little action happens. Feel like the Mortal Kombat timeline. But Cat Gamer have no anime, and if it have one, could you review it with Wolf? We have to see if it was good or bad. Also found an anime called Cat's Eye. Welcome to Raccoon City wasn't made from Netflix because it got released in a movie theater. It's not. Okay, my mistake. It's not from Netflix. Yeah, it did get released in theater. Okay, sorry, I kind of forgot about that because I do not rewatch this movie since it's not very good. It is rushed and slow at the same time. Way too many characters, tries to cram in too much from the video games, and tragically cuts out a lot of good stuff from the games too. This film should have just been an adaptation of Resident Evil 1, but for some reason they decided to cram in 1 and 2 together. We see Chris and Jill's story and Leon Kennedy's story at the same time. We see the incident at the mansion. We see Chris Redfield and the STARS team go to investigate the mansion incident as it's plagued by zombies. However, the zombies are already on the loose and in Raccoon City. And we follow Leon Kennedy and Claire working together as the zombie apocalypse is happening at their police precinct. Pretty much following both their adventures from RE1 and 2. And it's not very well balanced. They skim through a lot. They do have scenes from the remake. They have a lot of references. They even reference Itchy Tasty. We see Lisa Trevor in live action for the first time. I know she looks cool, but Honestly, she could have been deleted entirely and the film would not change. Like, what did Lisa Trevor even do? She gives Claire a key because Lisa and Claire are like best friends. They ignore the fact that Lisa Trevor was a boss fight in the first video game, so we don't get a kick-ass action scene with her. We find out basically a lot from the game. Chief Irons is corrupt. He doesn't even get an epic fight like he did in the remake. William Birkin is an evil scientist. He ran this orphanage where he took a bunch of orphan children and tested them for Umbrella Corps to turn them into super soldiers, unintentionally releasing the zombie virus. It's a mix of Catwoman mixed with Team as Totally Spies. Oh, that sounds really cool. And it does have an anime, like even Lupin the Third, have a crossover with that. Love Lupin the Third. Like the background is dark. Okay. Alright, so the short version is they recreate the first two video games, namely the remakes. It feels more like the RE1 and 2 remake than it does the original game. We get some references to both. They have the introduction to the zombie, but guess what? The heroes never meet a zombie until the 50-minute mark. Yes, the 50-minute mark of this 2-hour film is when they finally fight zombies. The zombies appear in the shadows or on the sides. We see the freeway incident where Claire is getting a lift from the trucker and they run over a girl who's really a zombie who just walks off, basically sauntering off slowly. Yeah, they never meet the zombie and we don't get that kick-ass intro to one until 50 minutes into this 2-hour film. What exactly happens in between then? Well, it's a lot of the characters dropping dialogue, exposition, bantering, and we meet the cast, and unfortunately they do not reflect the characters very well. Leon Kennedy is butchered by this. I do not like how they portray Leon. Leon is a moron. He's Homer Simpson. Leon's a rookie cop, and in the game, his story is he goes from a total newbie to rising as this great survival hero. He becomes a badass by the end of RE2, realizes what's going on, basically grows a spine, grows badass, and goes from a naive kid to a total killer man. He likes to fight, basically, but this Leon Kennedy is stupid. He's an idiot. He fucks up all the time. Leon Kennedy is a joke in this. He's actually napping at his desk as the zombie apocalypse is happening right outside. In this really ridiculous scene, the zombie apocalypse goes off and a car explodes right in front of an open door to his office, and he's napping. Zombie apocalypse? Oh well. Yeah, Leon Kennedy is completely useless. He's a moron. He screws up. Apparently he got demoted because he accidentally shot his partner. Leon Kennedy's a wannabe hero in this, and I like Avon Yogia from Victorious, but he looks like Leon, but he doesn't act like Leon. Leon is Homer Simpson in this. He's a screw-up, he's an idiot, he's the butt of every joke. Basically, Claire is dragging him around because he's that pathetic. Hey, Kat, I'm here. I see we're shitting on the Anderson films. Well, let's not get this out of the way. The only good one is the first film. That's enough said. Actually, Chris, Apocalypse made it higher than the first one. I do like Apocalypse, mostly because Jill is awesome. We're on Welcome to Raccoon City if you're joining us late. Could Wolf review the Cat's Eye anime? I'll ask him, but he'll likely say no. Lisa Trevor was trying to look for her mother and would attack anything near her, but in the movie, she's just Claire's old childhood friend with no searching for mother, or falls down a deep hole. Yeah, Lisa Trevor kind of just shows up. She's like not even a boss fight in this. She and Claire used to be best friends because Chris and Claire grew up in the same orphanage that Birkin experimented on the kids at. Yeah, apparently Lisa and Claire were besties. Oh, and apparently there's a mile-long secret passage that takes the precinct all the way to the mansion. Yeah, there's a long tunnel underneath both the precinct and mansion connecting them to help the characters get there faster. Yeah, The mansion is like 2,000 miles outside of Raccoon City, but there's an underground road that helped the chief drive all the way to the mansion. That is pretty insane. So, a lot of references, a lot of fight scenes, a lot of annoying Marvel humor between characters. The other character I think they butchered the most was Albert Wesker. Wesker is not the twist villain in this, he's not the final boss. Wesker is actually a tragic villain. Wesker's a nice guy who wants to expose Umbrella, but actually loves his STARS teammates and fellow cops and doesn't want to kill them. Yeah, I think you failed to capture Albert entirely just as much as the Netflix show did. Sorry, catch up on comments. Yeah, Lisa Trevor does not make sense. If we get a live-action Darkstalkers, which actress could play Felicia? Oh, Sydney Sweeney, for sure. Sydney Sweeney is perfect as Felicia. Sorry that I've been missing out on the tier list. I understand, Chris. We're all busy. This series show why video games are hated movie. Could we use a clip for Snoring Leon for a future review? Maybe. Okay, a long underground tunnel, and a lot of the characters are done a complete disservice. I also do not like Jill Valentine. Jill was changed to a black woman, and unfortunately, they use this as an excuse to change her entirely. Jill is nothing like herself. She's not nice. She's kind of this anger-prone gun nut who likes to shoot and likes to fight, always pissed off and always shouting at her teammates. Really kind of racist that they changed her to a black woman just to make her that character. Oh, by the way, Jill doesn't even dress in her sexy STARS uniform. No, she dressed like kind of like a civilian. Like, Chris and Leon and even William Birkin wear their outfits, but Jill doesn't, which makes her feel like an OC using Jill's name. Claire Redfield is also kind of bland. She's your typical girl boss. She's a strong, independent woman. She takes no names, prisoners, doesn't take shit from anyone, is always ready for a fight, and more or less drags Leon around because Leon is that stupid. Claire almost feels like her character, but also isn't very interesting. Chris is more so the only character they got right. He's a soldier who is idealistic and cares about helping people. Jill is nothing like herself, and Albert Wesker is absolutely nothing like himself. Oh, but we also do finally see Chicken Heart Vickers crash his copter. Yeah, Vickers actually dies in this one, making it kind of hard to have him back for RE3 Nemesis, but yeah, Chicken Heart Vickers crashes the chopper. And unceremoniously, Chief Irons is killed by a licker. Yeah, Chief Irons, one of the biggest villains from RE2, who had his character fleshed out a lot and even had a fight scene against Sherry Birkin. Yeah, when they find out Chief Irons is corrupt, and when they go to try to find him, he's killed by a licker. Yeah, Licker, like, randomly jumps him and kills him. It's not even the heroes who defeat him. And there's no fanfare, no epic send-off. Yeah, Harvey Bullock gets Punk killed by a licker, and that's it. William Birkin is the actual final boss in this, and Neil McDonough, he's trying, but they do not do this character justice. Basically, only half his body gets the BOW mutation. He gets, like, this creepy tentacle arm with the eyeball, and that's it. He has, like, scars on his face, but it's pretty much the rest of his body. It looks like something from the CW Arrowverse. A long underground tunnel. Yeah, like 2,000 miles long. The protagonist in Cat's Eyes anime is Ruo, Hitomi, and Ai. Okay, yeah, the 3D animation films, yeah, that's another story compared to the Anderson films, which is the equivalent of being like Dragon Ball Super to Dragon Ball Evolution, if you will. Where they are cafe workers by day and Catwoman by night. Yeah, like Amber for Invincible, for Jill and Welcome to Raccoon City. Yeah, I did not like what they did to Jill. It's like every time we change a character into another ethnicity, it's an excuse to make that character a total bitch or a jerk. And Jill suffered this. Jill is nothing like herself. She's not the kind-hearted, caring soldier who is friends with everyone but can also kick ass when basically when the situation demands for it. Jill is kick-ass, she is badass, she is a pro with guns. I think Nemesis, the remake, did a much better job at bitch Jill, but Black Jill was pretty much not the character, and she's not even friends with everyone else. Jill and Chris are supposed to have a romance, but that never comes up. Oh, and Ada Wong's also not in this. She's set up in the post-credit scene. Like they just like Velma, Mindy Kaling Velma syndrome, exactly. Since those Catwoman thief run a cafe called Cat's Eye, like Die by Liquor, I give this movie this at least. It tried to be Resident Evil after all the Resident Alice in Zombieland, Clone Wars Apocalypse Saga, Clone Wars Edition projects, yeah. Okay, so that's kind of the only reason why it wins a point. It tried to be the games, but unfortunately it did fail. What's even the climax in this? Well, Wesker ends up betrayed and dies, but not really. And all the heroes unite to fight William Birkin, and Birkin doesn't even mutate into his ultimate monster form. He just has a giant arm with tentacles and whatever, the eyes on the shoulder like in the game, and basically they all defeat him, they blow up the mansion, they stop the zombie outbreak, they save the world, and all the characters are going on to their character arcs from future games, but we get a twist ending. Albert Wesker is not dead, he's alive! He was rescued by Ada Wong, and gets the virus that gives him his superpowers, he gets his cool sunglasses, meaning that Wesker and Ada Wong are gonna be the villain duo in the next movie. Fortunately, there is no next movie because this movie bombed horribly. Yeah, I respect that it tried, but it was not good. It gets a lot right, but also a lot wrong. The characters do not feel like themselves. Only Chris Redfield feels accurate. Jill is ruined. Leon Kennedy especially is ruined. Albert Wesker is ruined. Lisa Trevor is just a glorified cameo and doesn't even act like herself. And most of the character deaths don't have any gravitas or fanfare when they're defeated. The action is not even that intense, and every time we feel like we're gonna have a serious moment, there's some like MCU style drama scene or humor that kind of butchers it. And especially, they cram two different plots into one film, and they both do not play out well. Honestly, they should have just adapted the first game, and this movie probably would have been decent. But no, they tried RE1 and RE2 at the same time in a very short 2-hour movie, and wouldn't you know, it didn't work out. Okay, and it was fine, but Leon snoring is just the "where are the cops" in every review. Yeah, that could work. Leon Kennedy sucks in this, and he doesn't come through until the end where he randomly has a rocket launcher and actually kills the bad guy. Yeah, Leon is that guy who's screwing up, epic failing, then finally does one thing right at the end, and that completes his character arc. I'm wondering why don't Capcom care about how their Resident Evil projects is in adaptations, because look at every live-action Resident Evil projects. Yeah, Capcom kind of just lets them do whatever, and it has backfired horribly. I'm glad Capcom is at least investing in their video games, because Lord, do these movies not show that they're good at these stories. Okay, so that's it for Welcome to Raccoon City. It sucks. It could have been great, but ended up another dud. I give it one ranking higher because it tried to resemble the video games. And unfortunately, that is the only nice thing I have to say about it. It tried, but it still sadly failed. It's going on to, what? What is this? Alright, now I know I'm gonna piss off a lot of people with Resident Evil Vendetta. I did not like this movie. It's going on, what? What is this? Oh man, I'm gonna get so many hate comments and dislikes and people in the chat rising to defend it. Resident Evil Vendetta could have been a great Resident Evil movie, but this one was really weird and bizarre. I mean, I love this franchise, but the only movies they got right is the 3D animation. Also, here's to hoping that Capcom does a remake of Dino Crisis 1 and 2. It really deserves it. Yeah, it does. Though I doubt it, because Capcom's only invested in Devil May Cry, Street Fighter, and Resident Evil. Possibly Mega Man too, but yeah, some of their franchises got really screwed over, like Dino Crisis and Darkstalkers, and we haven't seen Ghosts and Goblins in forever. like even Leon kill Frank West in Death Battle. That doesn't surprise me. Okay. Alright, let's talk about Vendetta and why I don't like it. So, Leon Kennedy and Chris Redfield are back, teaming up together after years of fighting in the zombie wars. And we finally see the return of Rebecca Chambers. Yep, Rebecca's back, and this is why I don't like the movie. It becomes a weird, creepy, dark romance plot. The villain has a crush on Rebecca Chambers and wants to make her his zombie bride. He's going to destroy the world and force Rebecca Chambers to marry him. Yeah, it is very weird and very bizarre. Though, one positive I will give this is the voice cast. Roger Craig Smith is Chris Redfield, Matthew Mercer is Leon Kennedy, and Erin Cahill is Rebecca Chambers. Erin Cahill, Time Force Ranger Pink Jen, is Rebecca Chambers, and yeah, that really impressed me. They got the Time Force Pink Ranger as Rebecca Chambers. That is really great casting, and Erin Hill does a pretty fantastic job. Okay, Rebecca Chambers was the team medic, and we find out she's actually a doctor now. Rebecca has retired from the battlefield and is working on a cure for the zombie virus. However, this new villain is trying to cause the zombie apocalypse because he wants revenge on the world for taking away the only woman he ever loved. We meet Elias, he's this creepy arms dealer guy, and he created new hyperactive bioweapons, wants to start a new zombie apocalypse. However, Elias falls in love with Rebecca Chambers and wants to force her to be his zombie wife. Yes, it is a weird yandere story out of nowhere. He wants Rebecca Chambers to marry him and is going to destroy the world to impress her. What? What is this? This is a really weird idea. So, initially it starts out like a basic Resident Evil plotline. Chris Redfield is going to a mansion where they discover zombies are on the loose, and Chris loses his entire team, forcing him to recruit Leon Kennedy. Leon Kennedy has now somehow become a grouchy old drunk who's given up on life. Yeah, Leon Kennedy is now Last Jedi Luke Skywalker. Leon Kennedy is tired of fighting, has given up all hope. He's getting drunk at a bar, ironically undergoing RE6's Chris story arc. Yeah, now Leon is the drunk loser hanging out at bars, wasting his life, and Chris shows up to help Leon get his groove back. Kind of like how Piers did for Chris. Yeah, it all came full circle. Chris was once a loser at a bar, now Leon's a loser at a bar, and Chris is helping him get back into the swing of things. Chris and Leon unite to help Rebecca Chambers. Rebecca has created a cure for this new strain of virus. However, the evil villain, we find out more about Elias. He's this evil arms dealer who profited off of death and destruction. However, the US government drone striked his wedding, and it killed everyone, including his beloved wife. He miraculously survived this drone strike. I guess Obama didn't give enough missiles, but yeah, this drone strike took out the wedding, but he survived, and he vowed revenge on the world for taking away his chance at happiness. And yeah, the characters try to make him sympathetic, but it does not work. One, he's a terrorist arms dealer. I do not feel sorry for him. Two, he pretty much kills a whole bunch of innocent people during this revenge scheme. And three, he has this very creepy aura around Rebecca Chambers. Why does he love Rebecca? Because Rebecca Chambers looks like his dead wife. Yeah, Rebecca and his dead wife look exactly the same, and he abducts Rebecca, has her stripped and dressed in a wedding dress, and takes away her shoes for some reason. We get a lot of sexy Rebecca Chambers fan service, which admittedly is a pretty good highlight of this. Like Erin Cahill's performance as Rebecca, and Rebecca is basically a damsel in distress for most of the movie. It becomes Leon and Chris foiling his new terrorist strain attack and saving Rebecca Chambers from marrying this creeper dude. They did this better in RE6 for my namesake and Leon. Yeah. Sorry, catch up on comments. I mean, I love this franchise, but the only movies that got it right is the 3D animation. Also, here's hoping... Alright, read that one. Yeah, Christina V is in this movie, and I don't know why. Christina V doesn't even get that many lines. Christina V plays like a sexy femme fatale character. She's a BOW, but the powers gave her like super strength, super speed. She can do acrobatics. She kind of plays like a sexy enforcer to Elias, along with this discount Bane looking guy, Diego. Yeah, Diego is apparently Christina V's father in this, and they're both like a mutant mercenary tag team. They're working for Elias. Diego is kind of a BOW Bane, and Christina V is like this cool femme fatale character. Look, I like Christina V, but she does nothing in this, and they try to hype her up like she's this big villain, but they give her really no personality. Yeah, Maria Gomez, that's her name. That right, Marinette, Shantae, Sakura Matao, and Veronica Mayday is in this anime. Look, I like Christina V, but her character Maria doesn't really do anything. She's just like this cool, sexy enforcer character. They actually have her get away to be the villain of a sequel, but it does not pan out very well. Also, Nadia, not the Nadia from Secret of Blue Water, is played by Kari Wahlgren. Yeah, she is. They did this better in RE6 for my namesake and Leon. Yeah, Chris Redfield's arc in RE6 was a lot better, about Chris getting his groove back and restoring faith in himself and faith in heroism. Here they give it to Leon, and it feels more out of character for him. Leon being depressed and hitting the bottle does not feel like something he'd ever do. I did not like how this film portrayed Leon Kennedy. He basically has to get his balls back, learn to fight, and be a hero all over again, with Chris being the one guiding him. Chris and Leon basically work together. Chris has this ridiculous gun-fu fight with the main villain. They're like shooting at each other, running around in circles, and they're like 2 feet away from each other. That right, Grandma Psycho from Dan to Dan and Starfire from DCAU is in Resident Evil. Zombie wife, like, feel like a necromance romance. And Barf, Hawkmoth from Miraculous Ladybug is more of a threat than the villain in this film. I agree. Also, Erin Cahill also played Chloe, Karma Lynch in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Oh, I did not know that. Okay, so the plot is very insane. Apparently, this guy invented a new strain of the virus. He also wants to prevent Rebecca from curing everyone. He abducts Rebecca and keeps her in like this safe room that resembles their mansion. Rebecca's like put in this sexy radiant wedding dress, is walking around barefoot trying to find a way out, and he wants Rebecca to marry him. He kept his dead wife's severed hand and proposes to her with it. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. He, like, recreated the day of their wedding, tells Rebecca how much she reminds him of the one he loved, how he plans to marry her, and turn her into a mutant too to be together. Yeah, basically, this guy wants to destroy the world because it denied him his happiness. He has his henchmen go out, plant a bunch of bombs everywhere, and Leon and Chris basically launch a rescue mission with just the two of them saving the day, and yeah, as nice as the action animation is, a lot of these scenes are really dumb and remind me way too much of Paul W.S. Anderson scenes. Like, Leon gets into a high-speed chase with the Cerberus dogs and accidentally kills a ton of people on the highway, and Leon doesn't care. Yeah, a family's car exploded, and Leon is doing cool kick-ass poses like a Power Ranger episode. It's a very out of character for him. Yeah, he's going along the freeway, and a lot of these cars explode or crash or get destroyed by the Cerberus dog mutants, and Leon doesn't care. He's like cracking one-liners, saying, "Whoa, glad I didn't drive that." And yeah, it's so unheroic for Leon Kennedy. Yeah, Leon is kind of butchered by this movie, not gonna lie. I did not like how they portrayed him. And Chris gets into a gun-fu fight with the villain. They're like shooting at each other point blank, somehow missing. It looks like something out of the Matrix or something. And Leon and Chris end up in an entire building hallway full of zombies, and they fire like several hundred shots without reloading. It's supposed to look cool, and it does at first, but it drags on for like 5 to 7 minutes. Yeah, it goes on for a while. If you're an action fan, you might like that about it. But, of course, they defeat the villain. Elias is thrown off a roof, dies, but gets BOW Bane to cross-mutate fuse with him, where they turn into a Resident Evil boss, and after a long extended fight, Chris finally shoots the obvious weak spot, his like heart's exposed, and evil Elias dies. They save Rebecca, and Rebecca gets to be the hero for once, where she cures everyone. They save the world, everything's good, Leon and Chris get their groove back, and Rebecca is happy to have met them again, hinting that Rebecca will help them on more missions in the future. Leon Kennedy's Japanese actor is Tohuka Morikawa. Plus, my namesake looks a little too Latino. I don't know if it's me, but even other reviewers acknowledge this. Yeah, Chris Redfield suddenly has dark skin. Not trying to be racist, but it's kind of weird because Chris is usually a white dude, and he's like suddenly super tan. Would have made sense if they had Carlos, but yeah. Her major roles, Maria Gomez, this Japanese actress, is Sayaka Ohara. Yeah, I don't know many of the Japanese actors, guy. And he's Dante in Devil May Cry. Ooh, cool. Also, what's your favorite BOW out of the Resident Evil franchise, Kat? Alright, out of all the BOWs we've seen, I know a lot of people love the Nemesis. Wesker's my favorite villain, but of the monsters, I like the mutant sharks. Yeah, I know, as cheesy as they are, I like the zombie sharks because the concept is so ludicrous and insane, and that level where it's flooding and the zombie sharks are trying to get you, that honestly creeped me out more than the spider did. Yeah, zombie sharks are my favorite BOW. Thankfully, Death Island would bring those back, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so I tried to love Vendetta, but honestly, this is the first CGI film I did not like because the plot was too outlandish and ridiculous for me to take seriously. The villain is not very good, and I love Rebecca Chambers, but ultimately she ends up as a damsel in distress, and don't get me started on the villain's plot that he wants to marry Rebecca and create a zombie apocalypse for them to rule together. Even by Resident Evil standards, that is so absurd. Yeah, Vendetta, I do not like. It's not a good movie. Honestly, the first two that came before it were way better. It's going on, what is this? It's at least better than the Resident Alice saga, that's for sure, and Welcome to Raccoon City. It tried, but it was not enough for me. Alright, final two. Just getting some water, stay hydrated. Alright. Well, while I'm pissing fans off, let's talk about Eternal Darkness. And this one also going on, what is this? Okay, so I made a mistake. This is the other Netflix entry. They made an animated Resident Evil mini-series. And yeah, there was zero reason why this shouldn't have been a movie. It's basically an RE movie broken up into parts because Netflix wanted to get more of your money that way. Like Zombie Shark feels like an R-rated Scooby-Doo villain, and what Pool Shark should have been, absolutely. Okay, so this is RE Eternal Darkness, and I do not like it because it is another slow, boring rehash of everything we've seen in the past movies. This one, once again, is about Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield. Claire is finally back, and they get involved in a political conspiracy with zombies there on the side. Yeah, this is my biggest issue with this film. There are barely any zombies in this. There's like one zombie attack at the start, then really nothing. Just random BOWs appear in episode 2, and then we get a boss fight in the final episode. Like that. Okay, so I really wanted to like this, but it's very slow, very clunky, and honestly feels like a rehash of Degeneration and Damnation. They recycle a lot from the past animated flicks. Leon Kennedy and Claire are back. This is a prequel to Resident Evil 6. Leon Kennedy got his job working as the president's bodyguard, and Claire Redfield has her job as an activist rescue worker. She's helping people, and she and Leon happen to cross paths. Claire wants to talk to the president's associates over some BOW conspiracy, while Leon uncovers something happening underground. Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. Yeah, it is a cool title. So, unfortunately, there are barely any zombies in this. If you're curious, there's only 4 episodes, and they do have zombies and BOWs appearing, but there's a lot of slow dialogue and exposition scenes, a lot of characters just talking, a lot of exposition, and more focus on the political conspiracy than the actual zombie apocalypse on the horizon. Nick Apstolides plays Leon Kennedy. Okay, this is the one that is a prequel to RE6. Yeah, this is the one. So, this one should have been a movie because it's only like 4 parts, and yeah, they are only like 20 to half-hour episodes. I was kind of curious why it wasn't a movie, but then I realized that Netflix and the studio wanted to make more money. So, an attack happens at the White House. The president is nearly assassinated by a zombie invasion. We find out there's a traitor. Somebody was able to breach America, and apparently war with the US and China is brewing. There's gonna be a fight between the US and China because we're finally pissed off at each other and are about to fight. We learn that the US and China were actually working on bioweapons together. They were both working on BOWs, however, the zombies got out of hand in China and nearly destroyed them. The US helped save China by sending in a mercenary team to clean up them and kill all the zombies that went on the loose. However, the bad guy is actually one of the captains who led the zombie purge. The bad guy is a former war hero who's suffering from PTSD and found out that the US government was behind the entire incident in the first place. The bad guy is this military commando, and he led the team to kill the zombies. He was not informed about the zombies and saw a lot of his men die or become infected, and he was pretty much traumatized from this operation. He became a war hero in the eyes of the public, but could never get a good night's sleep ever again. He suffered from a lot of guilt, a lot of regret, and turned against his own government. Yeah, the bad guy is a renegade soldier who is the one trying to take down both the US government and China. He's trying to start World War III with zombies. Also, Bill Kametz, R.I.P., played Patrick. Yeah, may he rest in peace. Okay, so Leon Kennedy is assigned with this special squad of agents. Only 2 of them really get character. There's like a third guy who hates Leon Kennedy, then becomes his fanboy praising him at the end. Yeah, that's pretty much his character arc. They're basically tasked going undercover and infiltrating China and finding the BOWs. However, Soldier Guy and the girl soldier completely betray them. They slaughter all the US naval officers. They're taking a submarine, and Leon finds out that they've turned against their own nation. They try to assassinate Leon too, with honestly the best part of this. This is the best scene of Eternal Darkness. BOW rats. Yeah, I love these. They have rat soldiers, basically copying like the bubonic plague from the old ages. They have zombie rats going around, killing and eating all the soldiers. Yeah, the US guy brought a bioweapon, a BOW rat, which goes around, kills people, and implants its seed into its victims. People die, get chestburster rats. and Leon like faces an entire swarm of these rats on a cramped submarine. I love this. This is the best part of it. The BOW rats are the highlight of this film. Tragically, they were the only part I love because the main story really goes downhill. Sorry, I just need some water. Okay, so yeah, the rats almost take over the submarine, nearly kill Leon, but Leon manages to hitch a ride on the bad guy's escape pod. They make it to China, and Evil Commando reveals that he wants revenge against the US government, wants revenge against the Chinese government, wants to show the world the true ugly side of war. And yeah, he makes like a lot of speeches about guilt, says that you've never seen war or fear, and he wants to show the world the ugly side of nature, expose the government, take it all down, and basically cause World War III through this. China and the US are gonna have a peace summit, try and bury the hatchet and sign a peace treaty. However, Evil Commando wants to assassinate all the politicians and reveal himself, where we find out Soldier Guy is a Titan. He has a virus in him too, and he turns into a Mr. X William Birkin hybrid. He turns into like a giant abomination Hulk, going on a rampage, and tries to kill everyone. Leon actually talks to the girl soldier, and it turns out the girl soldier wants revenge because her brother was one of the victims in the conspiracy. But Leon manages to break through to her, revealing that, oh, war is gonna kill everyone. Like, is it really worth it? Your entire nation will become a wasteland if war starts. So I catch up on comments. Yeah, he played Neofumo in Rising of the Shield, Navarath in Owl House. Yeah, a lot of anime actors in Owl House. Yeah, so I catch him on comments. Yeah, he was in a lot of things. What do you think of doing a tier list on the VHS found footage films for upcoming Halloween, since a recent one came out? Unfortunately, Chris, I have not seen the VHS saga. Yeah, I know I'm missing out on one of those big name horror movie franchises, but I've never watched the VHS movie in my life. It's like one of the horror films I've never seen. And, okay, more rolls. Rats, like China. Yeah. Okay, so Evil Commando guy turns himself into a Titan, and he plans to assassinate them. And honestly, another problem I have with this is Leon Kennedy is the only character who matters. Claire Redfield is completely pointless in this. Claire is like finding out about a political conspiracy, like connecting the dots, doing investigation. I don't think Claire gets a single action scene in this. Yeah, Claire Redfield, her subplot is completely pointless. She contributes nothing, adds nothing, and her role could have been given to a different character entirely. Honestly, I was kind of hoping we'd see the return of Hunnigan from RE4 and 6. Yeah, she kind of feels like Hunnigan in this, because Claire is like working in the office for most of this. Claire finds out that the US Senator is evil, and he was trying to make BOW weapons. Senator tries to bribe her, pay her off. Claire's having none of it, but his plans are completely in shambles once BOW Commando shows up and he kills the Senator. Well, he rips his throat open, but it somehow doesn't kill him. Yeah, this old guy who gets his throat gouged by a zombie somehow doesn't die or get infected from it. He scrambles away, and BOW guy tries to kill everyone. Leon and his soldier girlfriend show up. Soldier girlfriend actually dies in this one. Yeah, she doesn't get a happy ending like D-Generation's Laura Bailey did. Yeah, Soldier Girl has a big final fight with Leon Kennedy, exactly like a Titan fight, and it's all a bunch of stuff we've seen before. I do not feel for the villain. They try to get us to care for him because I was just a soldier following orders and it turned me into a monster. It's like, guy, you killed several innocent people trying to get your agenda accomplished. I feel nothing for this dude. Yeah, Discount Abomination Red Hulk goes on a rampage. He tears it up, and eventually Leon kills him by dropping him in an acid tank. Thankfully, they're in a US government lab, and there's a decontamination decontamination thing where it releases acid to burn all the BOWs. Evil Senator Guy was gonna make an armada of Mr. X's, and Commando Guy decides to destroy them all. He tries to kill the president, but Leon and Claire save the day. They kick him down into the acid, and we're supposed to have this alas poor villain moment, but I do not feel him. This guy killed several innocent people just doing their job, and crossed the line into irredeemable territory. Yeah, the soldier dies and fails, and this has a very peculiar twist ending. At the end, China and the US become best friends. They sign the peace treaty. Leon saves the day. Evil, corrupt commando is dead. Senator Guy gets voted out of office and is exposed. And Claire manages to get her story out there, except for one final thing. We see a twist ending. Claire and Leon break their friendship apart. Yeah, Claire and Leon, the two best friends of Resident Evil, sever ties and go their separate ways. Leon becomes a G-man. He sells out and works for the government. If you don't know, this is leading into RE6, and it's supposed to explain why Claire Redfield was not in RE6. Leon and Kennedy withholds information that Claire wants to use for her story. Claire wants to expose the government conspiracy, but Leon realizes this intel can break the peace between the US and China, so he decides to conceal it from the public. Leon wants the story dropped and dead, and Claire is completely betrayed and flabbergasted by Leon withholding this information. Since there's only 8, 7 plus the new one so far, plus good R-rated material both for gore and TNA. Okay, sounds pretty good. Well, they're good. Highly recommend checking them out when you have the time to. Okay, thank you. And we need an anime tier list in years. Well, we've never seen an anime tier list in years. Not yet. We've seen Batman Ninja on this tier stream. Also, now Goosebumps have a graphic novel of Monster Blood. I did hear that. But in RE Revelations 2, she checked up on him. Yeah, that kind of made the continuity confusing. Death Island would fix this, where they became best friends again. Death Island would fix Claire and Leon's friendship. Yeah, basically, they broke up. It explains why Claire's not in RE6, and Death Island has Claire and Leon become buddies all over again, kind of rendering this ending pointless, by the way. But yeah, Leon goes off to work for the president, kickstarting RE6, and Claire decides to go out on her own, where we know she'll be in RE Revelation and some future stories. But yeah, Claire and Leon aren't friends anymore. Then they become best friends in the next film. Yeah, they go their separate ways. Leon goes working for the president, and if you know RE6, you know what's on the horizon. And we also get a post-credit scene of Dick Senator managed to get away, and he's being treated by Tricell. Yeah, he's working with Tricell, and this has not been followed up on yet, and I highly doubt it will because there has not been a sequel season announced to this show yet. I was kind of disappointed by Eternal Darkness. It started out very interesting, but slowly devolved into a rehash of all the past films. The animation is nice. I love Leon Kennedy. I love the BOW rats. That is easily the highlight of this, but it's not very interesting. It is very slow. There's a lot of dialogue-heavy scenes for a Resident Evil story. There's barely any zombie action, and the villains really suck. The villain is a complete rehash of the brother-sister team from Degeneration down here. And the twist ending kind of meaningless because Claire and Leon become besties all over again, making no dramatic stakes in this ending where they break their friendship. Yeah, I just did not like it. It felt like a complete waste of time. Honestly, I think Vendetta is better than it. It's going on, what is this? Yeah, I kind of recommend skipping it. Unless you really care about the story continuity, it's worth a single watch, but has no rewatch value. Yeah, they become best friends again. Yeah, it really didn't matter. The continuity does not matter in some of these prequel stories. Yeah, Eternal Darkness, I don't recommend it. It is much better than the live-action Resident Evil show, but a million times better, but just barely. Going on, what is this? But let's end things on a high note with the last film, Resident Evil Death Island. And this one, do I want to put it on Titan Tyrant? I'll put it up on Jill Sandwich. Yep, this movie, pretty good. I do like it. There are some flaws, which is why it's not going on to S tier, but Death Island is a pretty serviceable finale. This is, at the time of this review, the final conclusion to the classic cast of Resident Evil. All the iconic characters you know and love unite for one epic battle on Alcatraz Island. So, this new villain is going to cause another zombie outbreak because he wants to take over the world. Of course, there's more to this as the movie goes on, but this is the big selling point. We get the reunion of all the best RE characters. Jill Valentine, Chris Redfield, Leon Kennedy, Rebecca Chambers, and Claire Redfield. The top 5 RE heroes unite to stop this evil terrorist from taking over the world. So, we do see a prologue to this. The terrorist actually gets his origin story revealed. We see flashbacks to this soldier guy. We go all the way back to Raccoon City, where the terrorist was once a foot soldier who served Umbrella. They were forced to kill zombies and infected, and he finds out that they're killing people. He did not know they were killing zombies. He thought they were fighting bad guys. They find out that these people have been infected by the T virus, and he cannot come back. They won't rescue all Umbrella soldiers unless they kill all infected, and his best friend got bit. His best friend got infected and will turn into a zombie, and Umbrella will not rescue their operatives unless all infected are purged. And he was forced to murder his bro. He kills his best buddy, forced to shoot him. They both have a really horrible fight. They nearly kill each other, but eventually he did cave in and killed his best friend. He killed his best friend, and he had a complete psychotic meltdown, turning him into an insane supervillain. He vowed he would get revenge upon the world because he was forced to kill his bro. He blamed Umbrella, blamed the US government, and kind of randomly and out of nowhere, blamed the RE heroes for ruining his life inadvertently. I would so eat out a Jill sandwich. You're right. Yeah, Jill sandwich are very good. My tongue loves licking that. Okay. And now Goosebumps have a new board game. Oh, they do. Okay. In the kids section. Yeah, Christina V returns, and honestly, I don't know why. So, the bad guy is backed up by Maria Gomez from the last film, and Christina V has like 6 lines in this movie. I did not know why they even brought her back. I forgot who this was until she fights Leon Kennedy. Christina V's character is basically another sexy enforcer helping the bad guy take over the world. Yeah, basically the same thing she did in the last movie, and she wants revenge against Leon Kennedy because Leon and Chris killed her father back in Vendetta. Yeah, remember that villainess who escapes in the post-credit scene in Vendetta? Well, she shows up in Death Island as the right-hand woman to the new villain. Yeah, it would have made more sense if she was the main antagonist, but no. She's once again a kick-ass sexy enforcer and has a rivalry with Leon because Leon killed her dad. Yeah, her dad was Diego, who fused morph with Elias and died. I do not know why they brought her back. She is completely pointless, and even her final fight scene is not that interesting. She and Leon have a close quarter combat scene, and it ends with Leon easily killing her. Lucien Dodge is JJ. He played Mahito in Jujutsu Kaisen, and Andrew Hanbridge in The Little Witch Academia, and Damian Wayne in Batman Mechs vs. Mutants. Oh, really? I didn't know he was in that. Yeah, Jill sandwiches are tasty. Okay, so the real selling point is the heroes are back. This is the first time we're seeing Jill Valentine and Chris actually interacting after RE5. So it's implied this is like long after RE6, but before RE7. The heroes are uniting, and Jill finally gets a character arc in this. Jill is suffering PTSD from her actions in RE5. So, some fans might be very confused because they use Jill's remake model from the Nemesis remake for her character. No, this is taking place after RE5. Jill is suffering PTSD and guilt, trying to atone for her actions when she used to be a villainess. At one point, Jill was brainwashed by Albert Wesker to be his right-hand woman and a super soldier, nearly killing Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 5. And Jill is kind of a borderline suicidal death seeker, risking her life needlessly, being very impulsive and reckless, and doing a lot of dangerous stuff. We do get a return of bitch Jill Valentine. Jill is kind of cynical and jaded in this, is having a falling out with Chris. Chris wants to get Jill back to her old self, find his friend again, help her get over her trauma, but Jill is not doing so well. Meanwhile, Claire Redfield comes back, and this is kind of like a redemption arc for these characters. Leon and Claire fix their friendship, and Chris and Jill fix their romance. Yeah, Chris Redfield has feelings for Jill, and basically the two pairs are trying to fix and make amends, try and be better people and go back to their old ways, try to be friends again, try to unite, and go back to fighting the bad guys. Rebecca Chambers is also in this, and she's kind of a side character. Yeah, I love hearing Time Force Pink Ranger as Rebecca. She does a pretty good job, but she's mostly on the sidelines. She makes a cure to the recent virus outbreak. I'm back. Yes, we're at the last one now. Yep, Shadowlink, we're on Death Island, concluding things on a high note. I'm giving it an A. It's going on Jill's sandwich. I almost love this, but there are some flaws. Namely, Christina V's character is completely useless, and they do not do a good job referencing the events which caused them to break up in the first place. They go to Alcatraz Island, where they believe this bad guy is. They're giving a tour on Alcatraz, and the bad guy launches his new strain. It turns out the villain will spread the zombie virus with BOW mosquitoes. Yes, he's brewing zombie mosquitoes, going around mind controlling them, and having them bite random people at his command. It's a controlled zombie apocalypse. The bad guy is controlling his zombie mosquitoes and causes an outbreak at Alcatraz Island. The heroes fight, and he basically leads them into a trap. He's working with this scientist who's a former Umbrella employee held hostage. The old guy tries to get away. He's like saved by, I believe, Chris and Jill. Like, they save him. Or no, it's Claire Redfield. Yeah, Claire, because the old guy has a problem with Claire because she's a part of this activist group that hates his people. So am I the only one who wants Jill and Leon to cross over more? Exactly, because they work so well together. Yeah, Leon and Jill meet for the first time ever in this, and they're kind of like, oh, you're Jill? Cool. You're Leon. Cool. Yeah, Jill and Leon actually make a pretty badass pairing, and we do get to see Chris and Claire Redfield together at last. Much better in this movie than they were in Afterlife. I do kind of wish Rebecca Chambers did a little more. If you weren't here, Shadowlink, did you know Time Force Pink Ranger Jen, Erin Cahill voices Rebecca Chambers? Yeah, Time Force Pink is Rebecca Chambers in Resident Evil. That is a pretty cool trivia. Sorry, catch up on comments, checking out what you guys have been saying. Love the scene between Chris and Jill at the gun range, and it's kind of like Catwoman and Batman in an Injustice film, with punching the post till his knuckles bleed. Yeah. Welcome back, Shadowlink. Yes, I did. Okay, you did know that. Alright. Yeah, I was surprised. Time Force's Jen plays Rebecca Chambers. That's really cool. Unfortunately, Rebecca is the one character who gets shafted in this. She's on the sidelines, invents another cure for the recent outbreak. It's mostly Jill coming to grips with her PTSD and guilt over being evil in RE5, and Leon and Claire becoming best friends again after their breakup in Eternal Darkness. Sorry, Shadowlink, I did not like Eternal Darkness. It went on, what is this? Because it was a zombie movie with barely any zombies. Okay, so basically the bad guy is this completely broken, depressed old man who's butthurt because he feels guilt for killing his friend. So instead of taking responsibility or owning up to his mistakes, he's blaming the entire world for it and wants everyone else to suffer because he suffered. Yeah, the villain is basically a selfish, entitled man-child who couldn't get over the fact that he did something horrible in his past, so he's going to let everyone else suffer for it. And yes, this is supposed to parallel Jill Valentine's PTSD arc. Jill is also reckless and impulsive and blames herself for something that was completely out of her hands, while this guy is also suffering from PTSD and is feeling butthurt because he had to shoot his best friend, so he decided to kill the entire world. Then again, Patricia Lee, who was Cassie from Turbo and In Space, voiced Jill in RE5 and Umbrella Chronicles. Yeah, I love Patricia Lee's Jill Valentine. That's fair. Infinite Darkness was sadly a bit forgettable. Yeah, I agree. Though the best part about Infinite Darkness, BOW rats. I love that scene. The BOW rats are easily the highlight of it. It's why it's much better than anything under here. Sorry, drinking some water. Okay, so, yeah. Ultimately, the bad guy ends his movie the exact same way as all these movies end, with him transforming into a Resident Evil boss. And I really like this one the most. All of them have been pretty much discount William Birkin mutants or titans. Here, the guy injects himself with a higher strain of the virus and fuses with his zombie shark. Yes, the zombie sharks finally come back. The zombie shark is like a guardian at Death Island, and he fuses with his master, turning him into a giant tentacle ocean monster. The bad guy turns into this ultra Resident Evil boss fight, and all the heroes unite to stop him. Christina V's character sadly gets very little fanfare in this. I forgot this was even the right-hand woman from Vendetta. She came back, she fights Leon Kennedy, and very anticlimactically gets defeated and punk killed by Leon. Yeah, Leon kills Christina V's character, Maria, and that's kind of the end of her story. Leon doesn't even feel guilt for causing all her drama. And I would also agree that Vendetta was the weakest of the evil CGI movies. Yeah, we were joking about how it's all about the villain wants to hook up with Rebecca Chambers. Kind of why it was a weird movie. Yeah, the bad guy wanted to destroy the world and turn Rebecca into his zombie bride. Even by Resident Evil standards, that was insane. Okay, so fortunately Death Island is much, much better, a lot more action, a lot more character development. You actually feel the tightness and unity between the characters, though they do point out that the villain is also completely insane. This is the first RE movie where they tell you it's okay to not feel sympathy for the villain. The villain has completely crossed the line, went into crazy territory. He is pretty much butthurt about his own screw-ups in his past, and yeah, projecting a lot of his issues onto the RE heroes. Why does he want to kill the heroes even though they opposed Umbrella? Well, get this, he believes the heroes are all hypocrites, that Chris Redfield claims to be a noble soldier, but every time you lead a mission, you cause a lot of death of your own men. Your own troops die following your orders, and for what? To protect the corrupt government? Leon Kennedy, you caused a conspiracy. You protected the government, serve them, protect them even when they're in the wrong, and it's a total slam against Eternal Darkness. Yeah, it is referencing Eternal Darkness where Leon Kennedy covered up the conspiracy at the end, and Leon Kennedy is kind of blamed for that, and he calls out Claire. Claire, you believe you help people. You're an activist that helps the less fortunate, yet all you do is put a bandage on the damage. You don't actually fix the problem. You're just there as a nurse helping people. And Yeah, his motivations are pretty much called out as precisely what it is. A lot of BS projection, and this guy clearly lost it. He tries to release his deadly zombie mosquitoes into the air. Rebecca Chambers comes along and helps them, and they have a final boss fight against him as this Pirates of the Caribbean looking monster. With Jill finally getting her satisfying boss fight, there's a lot of references to everything Resident Evil. From 1 to 2, 3, 4, even 6. Like Leon and Chris drive around in a car shooting him like in the Simmons boss fight. It is actually pretty cool and a much better love letter than Welcome to Raccoon City was. But yeah, eventually they kill the giant monster by crushing him with a door. And believe it or not, it is much better than Wesker's death in the final chapter. Yeah, the bad guy gets killed by a falling door. But here, it actually works because it's a giant iron door which crushes him to death. Leon, I'm gonna need a vacation after all this. Yeah, funny. Okay, Damon Millis as Dylan Blake, also played... What? What is this? Yeah, the villain also dies by a falling door in the end. They crush him to death, and it's actually a lot more satisfying because he's like trying to reach the ocean to spread the mosquitoes, but no, he gets crushed on his head. Yeah, believe it or not, the door crushing his head and spine was much more epic than getting his foot chopped off. But yeah, that's it. They save the day. They kill evil Madman and Christina V. Jill finally gets closure on her PTSD, and all of them unite, becoming best of friends. And I don't think there's actually a post-credit scene at the end of this one. It's actually a happy ending. They give a proper conclusion to the RE heroes we know and love. Tragically, it's because they haven't been used in the games all that much, but hey, I'm willing to buy it. I think it's fine. This movie does have some flaws. It does take a while to get rolling, and I know Jill is kind of mean at the start of this, though my problem was the villains. The villains were not used very well. The bad guy is not interesting until he becomes a boss fight, but I think Death Island is a good movie. It's definitely a decent watch, and if you wanted to see all the RE heroes together on the big screen stopping an evil, out-of-control monster, this is definitely the one for you. Death Island is easily the best of the RE flicks. Mustard and Moonfish in My Hero Academia, and Revchi and Black Clover. Okay. Alright, so yeah, Death Island definitely is a great vacation. It's going on Jill Sandwich. But as you can see, we did it. We completed the tier list. We talked about all the Resident Evil stuff. The good, the bad, and the Alice. We'll go over it one last time for any of you late birds, or for those of you who skip click all the way to the end. So, at rock bottom, in You're Pitiful. Unsurprisingly, the final chapter. This is one of the worst horror movies and video game movies of all time. Disappointing in every way. It doesn't even get a 0 out of 10. It gets a negative infinity out of 10. It is that bad. The Netflix Resident Evil series, now mini-series because it was cancelled. This show has nothing to do with Resident Evil and is about Wesker's daughter screwing around. Yeah, this one sucks. It's bad. Don't even watch it. Retribution, it sucked. Extinction, it sucked. Afterlife, the only good thing was Wesker, but outside of him is a crappy movie which sucked. Well, this was fun, Cat. Looking forward to the next review, especially the Tales from the Dark Side, and the next tier list. Bye for now, my friend. Bye, Chris. So in What is this? Welcome to Raccoon City. It tried so hard, but its mistake was cramming in 2 movies at once and bastardizing a few characters. I really wanted to like it. It tried to feel like Resident Evil, which is why it's up here, but tragically it's still not a good movie. Resident Evil still hasn't had a good live-action flick. Eternal Darkness. It was very slow, very forgettable, and kind of rehashed everything from past Resident Evil tales, though the BOW rats are the sole highlights, but still, I don't recommend it. Vendetta. This one was weird. This might be the weirdest film on this list. The bad guy wants to hook up with Rebecca Chambers and destroy the world for her. Yeah, it's like the weirdest dark romance story ever, and Chris and Leon are not done justice in this. I think it's the weakest of the animated flicks, but it's still more watchable than these Resident Alice sequels. Still, going on, what is this? Okay. So, none made it in Nemesis Miss, which is surprising. Yeah, I know, none made it here. But up top in Rookie, we have the first Resident Evil flick. Yeah, it's watchable. It's only good in comparison. It's still not a good representation of Resident Evil, but honestly, it's a decent film in general. Mia Jovovich is not hogging the spotlight in this one. There's actually interesting developments, interesting ideas, a lot of cool action, and a pretty fun survival horror story, which actually tries to capture the atmosphere of the games. Yeah, it's mildly decent. Then Degeneration. I actually do think this one is very good. It's fun, it's energetic, the animation has not held up in some places, and I do think it gets a while to get to the story, but, I think it's fun. Really cool, really kick-ass. Leon and Claire are badasses in this, and I actually do like Cop Lady. I thought she was a fine character. This one, definitely a great start, and I would highly recommend watching it over everything beneath it. Now, up top in Jill Sandwich. Up top we have Apocalypse. It is only good because Jill Valentine is awesome. Love Sienna Guillory's Jill Valentine. She looks like the character, acts like the character, and wouldn't you know, actually got moments to be badass before Alice stole the spotlight. Not to mention Nemesis is really cool in this. This is easily the best of Paul W.S. Anderson's Resident Alice flicks. I highly recommend checking this one out if you want to see RE3 partially in live action. Nothing on S tier, by the way, that's a first. Yeah. So you'll notice nothing made it into S tier, because that's how bad the Resident Evil movies have been. Yeah, even the animated ones, they're good, but I would not say they're all-time classic movies. They're definitely dumb fun and decent filler arcs in between the games. But yeah, the Resident Evil saga has had that much of a bad luck in this. But at number 2, RE Damnation. Yeah, this is honestly a cool movie. I like it. Love Leon Kennedy kicking butt. Love the idea of a political warfare where both of them are using BOWs as their super weapons. And Ada Wong, yes, love Ada Wong. Even if it's Courtney Taylor, I thought she was good in RE6, so she was definitely a surprise here. Damnation is one damn good time. But our number 1 RE movie is Death Island. Yeah, it's good, it's cool, it's kick-ass, it is fantastic seeing all these iconic characters together, and wouldn't you know it, it's a Resident Evil movie which focuses on the characters we like being cool. Yeah, Death Island is my number 1 Resident Evil movie. Sadly, none made it in S tier, but that should tell you how much bad luck this franchise has had at adaptations. Yep. We made it our first ranking with no S tier. I know, right? We got none in S tier. Death Island came close, but the villains are my sole problem. Also, they have Jill looking like her remake counterpart instead of her RE5 counterpart. And it was interesting reviewing. An interesting review. Okay, thank you, Akira. Glad you liked it. Okay, so remember that Death Island is number 1, and at rock bottom, unsurprisingly, the final chapter. Do not watch any of Paul W.S. Anderson's flicks. Apocalypse is decent. It's the only good one, I would argue. Mostly because of Jill, but not at all because of Alice. Death Island, definitely worth watching. Though I would recommend playing the games first, because there is a lot of continuity, referencing everything from 1 to 6. I recommend the RE mangas. Okay, I might have to check them out. So, I don't know about the games, but maybe you can do an overall Resident Evil characters tier list. Yeah, characters might be much easier because I can actually see them. Yeah, I can follow their stories, watch them on YouTube, but might have to do RE characters. The games, unfortunately, some of the games are not available to me, namely the old ones. And no, I'm not going to Japan to buy that awful CD one that the Angry Video Game Nerd reviewed. Yeah, a games tier list might be harder to do because not a lot of the games are present right now. Though I am going to play Code Veronica. I got that on my Xbox with the Game Pass. I'm looking forward to Code Veronica, especially because Claire is in it, and I want to see the Ashford twins in full. Oh, and Wesker's in it. I know that. No spoilers. But yeah, that pretty much completes my tier list. Take one last snapshot. Honestly, I had a lot more bad and disappointing than good, but that should tell you how badly Resident Evil has been screwed over in adaptations. A lot of bad, of course, a lot of it being Paul W.S. Anderson's crap, but we had actually top 5 of these. Death Island is the best one, Final Chapter is the worst. I might do RE characters in the future. I do have other tier lists I'm planning on. I do have videos currently on Patreon. I recently did Tales from the Dark Side. My brother Wolf has his anime review. We have a few more Halloween surprises coming up, working on those. I'm working on my last big one. Then tier lists, might do the RE characters, but I know somebody's been requesting me to do Zatanna and Killer Croc, so those are likely. Also might do another Scooby-Doo related one, but I just gotta watch a few things. You can find the RE manga's English translations online. Okay. Also, we didn't get Solomon Grundy tier list. Would anybody care about Solomon Grundy? I think he's a fine character. You know, we might do him one day. Okay, that completes my tier list. Thank you all for joining us. Future tier list, possibly RE characters. I do have a Scooby-Doo one in the works right now. I have a ton of Halloween videos already on Patreon. One is coming out this week, so look forward to that. But yeah, Tales from the Dark Side is also on Patreon right now. That one comes later. Sorry, folks. But thank you all for joining us. I'm glad you liked Resident Evil. I definitely liked it. So let's finally end this game and set you guys free. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or just tune in for more videos posted here on Wolf Entertainment. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and I'm going to enjoy a Jill sandwich. Take care.